But now, yeah, make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey.
Nobody is coming to save you. Get up. Be your own hero.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind. Good to see everybody coming to you live 250 miles above your imagination in the international fake station. I've got my good friend Something Wong from the Chinese Communist Party here to make sure that I toe the party line. So that's what we're going to do here tonight. Toe the party line. We don't want to get in any trouble on this show. Holy cow. I want to run an idea by you all here. I thought of something today. I want to run it by you and let's see what y'all think about it here. First, we're going to kind of take a look and see who all we got in here tonight with us. It looks like I got no longer on the ball. Look at this unfortunate laundry accident that I had on one of my favorite shirts because I'm a salty old bastard. But that just goes to, I don't know what that's from. I think there was a concentration of the detergent or something in one area of my load of laundry or whatever the case it was. Anyway, it's quite irritating. I might actually change. You're not going to get to watch, but I might actually change. So I'm trying out someone who's going to be making maybe some merch for me. And I'm going to have them start out. I want to see, because I've looked at some of their other work. And so having a couple more of these hats made. And I'm thinking I might go with having a raffle on here one day and giving out a couple of these hats. And then maybe going through and having some other stuff made, shirts, that kind of stuff. And then maybe set up an online store with her. So I'd like to get together with her to do that. I was talking to her this afternoon. I put in an order for a couple of these hats. So those will be coming soon. Limited supply. But anyway, let's see who all's here. So I got Michael Ritz. I know that guy. What's going on, bro? Good to see you here tonight, man. Got Chicago Cubby Bears with us. We got no longer on the ball. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see. Keep Connor off. Connor is talking to me over here on Facebook, and he's still acting as though he really does. He thinks he prevailed in that discussion last night, and it's amazing. I'm like, really? Really? Did you? And he's still going with this gravity thing. I mean, even though we showed him when we manipulated the independent variable of the medium, we changed the effect on the dependent variable. Da, 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 da. Can you do that with your gravity? I mean, and we can just, Dave's shirt hit a gravity pocket. Yeah, that's probably what happened in that spin cycle. That's what was going. Yeah. I got Diane Redheffer's joined us here. Laurie's with us. Let's see, Jehovah's lovely daughter, Barbara. Good to see you as well. Flat Out Fudge, Mike Van Dyke's with us. Let me see who else. Chicago Cubby Bear, Kayla Chesney, Austin Murphy. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see who else we got in here. Twilight Nights. Twilight Nights is like one of the first people that shows up here. I love that somebody said something. Damn it, let me sleep, because I had that premiere earlier. I wanted to give it a month for Jared. I'm not trying to glom off his views or anything else like that, but I did think it would be important to have it on my channel, and maybe people go back and do a rewatch. That thing has been like banned from the channel because that's just a minion of Satan. I'm sorry. I don't care what you tell me. I took the Tide Pod challenge. I'm going to end up changing this thing. I am, because people are saying it. I didn't notice it until I got under this light. I'm glad I did now. So let me see. Ida Hat, how you doing tonight? In Rem, RPB 68, Kayla Chesney, Bogan Alseard is with us, ZXL Master, who has been the winner consistently as to be the first one to leave a comment and a lot of times a thumbs up. So shout out to ZXL Master. This guy, he's like monitoring right now probably 15 shows all at once. That's pretty crazy. Let's see. Anybody else I noticed? One more quarter. Just in case. Chaos Code. Let's see. Anybody else I missed? If I did, I'm sorry. I'm going through. I'm getting more and more people watching all at once. It's a little harder. Producer, talent, and writer, I guess, all in one thing. Although we just do it completely amateur. That's how we roll shit around here. So this is what I wanted to run by y'all. Everybody's always like, okay, so the sun is supposed to be this big hot thing, and it's supposed to be heat that's radiating off of it. And the higher you go in altitude, and of course I know the air is thinner, but the higher you go in altitude, you also have snow, and it gets colder. And I got to thinking about that. I was like, that's kind of crazy. Is it really giving off heat as we understand heat? And I thought, no, wait a second. Because I used to live out in California. I lived right off the edge of right at the edge of the Mojave Desert, right where you go into Death Valley. And the hottest place on earth, as it's called, is a place called Badwater in Death Valley. And it's 280 something feet below sea level or something like that. And it's like hot all the time. Even when it's cold everywhere else, man, it's t-shirt time, right? So then it hit me because I started thinking, I got this thing. It's called, have you ever heard of an induction burner? Okay. I have this device that's a burner. It's almost like you could consider it, maybe the size of a hot plate, that uses magnetic induction to cause heat. And what happens is that the way that the magnetics reacts to the pan. Now you have to it has to be able to be reactive to a magnetic field. So some pans don't work. And a lot of times now it'll have a little symbol on the bottom of it for magnetic induction, right? So anyway, what you do is you put this pan on there, you turn it on, and the pan gets hot. The burner does not get hot. Okay, although it will absorb some heat from the pan, but it'll cool quite quickly, even with it still going. So there's no heat of the actual thing that's causing the heat on the frying pan. You dig where I'm coming from? So I'm thinking that the heat we're feeling from the sun is actually a product of magnetic induction. And people say, yeah, but you can feel the sun right on you. And I'm like, yeah, you can, because you're just another node on that same plate that's being heated. You're part of the entire thing. And being a little node sticking right up off of that, yeah, of course. So this is just, I'm running this through my head. I'm blowing it out through your idea, through your heads. And I'm wondering, what do y'all think on that whole thing? I mean, I think it's pretty good. I really do. I want to explore it a little further. I threw it out there to a few other people. I threw it out there to Jaron. He said he wants to look into it. So I don't know. That's what I say. We come to the table with all different little bits of information and shit. I don't know. Maybe somebody else has already figured that out and I just never heard about it. But that really struck with me when that came to my head. And it came about from Dreamy Lynn last night talking about getting sunburned and shit. And I started thinking about, well, elevation, climate, blah, 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 and then I was like, yeah, that whole thing about getting colder higher up, And so that whole reaction of that pan and that induction burner is the magnetics, positive charge of the sun, meeting that negative charge or neutral charge of the earth that within certain proximity causes a different reaction, right? It's still within the field, but the closer it is, the less the effect, the further away it is, the more the effect. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's electrostatic bong. There you go. So I'm going along those lines, thinking about that. So I don't know, man. Let me know what you all think about it. It was just something that came to me about maybe an hour and a half ago or so. And I just went, oh, I think I got this figured out. I have figured something out. Perhaps. We'll see. We'll run it by Witsit and see what he says, man. I think that's his wheelhouse right there. I think that would be his wheelhouse. Maybe he's already thought about it. So anyway, what I was going to do tonight is, and the reason I called it trying to tolerate a debate, is because we had there was oh, that's me. I don't need to see me. I don't need to hear me. Just a second. Let me put this to where it's supposed to be. All right, we're good. PhD Tony. I'm sorry, man. This guy really irritates the piss out of me. Just the way he acts, his whole thing. Darryl is on his side, and Toby against Alan. And Toby and Alan remain pretty chill back. I think they made a good team on this debate. But if we can tolerate Tony, I think this would be a good one. We can learn some stuff from it, especially if you really listen. Now, PhD Tony is got a thing about he's a seismologist or some shit like that. So when he's talking about wave propagation on a globe, and I'm thinking about when if you've ever seen a cymbal being struck and filmed with a high-speed camera so that you can see it in real slow motion, right? You can see how the wave propagation goes around and actually even comes back, which I would think like maybe aftershocks or something like that. But you can actually watch that wave and it works perfectly on that flat surface. So I don't understand what he's going for with that. Of course, I'm not a seismologist. And I hope he realizes nobody else is a seismologist on this panel or anything. So it would be very possible for him to run whatever kind of bullshit he wants to on people. I think if somebody was armed with somebody like Dutch Sense, that you could, he would be able to pick out bullshit that he's saying when it comes to that. But for as far as I'm concerned, I don't think an earthquake proves a globe or a flat earth either way. I mean, I really don't think that proves it either way. We're making assumptions anyway about the wave propagation and the medium that it's going through. In other words, you would have to know what is in between in the ground, this point and this point where the epicenter of the earthquake's at. And we know that wave propagation changes due to medium. So they speculate what everything is, but they're not right. They're not right. You see, that little cartoon ball they show you cut open that looks like layers of a jawbreaker. That's Mickey Mouse fantasy world bullshit is what that is. So I have to consider that. I would say that probably seismology is about as accurate of a science as weather. To one of the most inaccurate of all the sciences. I mean, they do a good job. The science behind weather, we know why things happen. But when it comes to like weather, when you've got so many variables involved that are continuously changing, same thing with seismology, because as I said, different mediums, different depths, blah, 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 blah. That predictions are more difficult to make because there's so much random changing in the different variables involved. Okay. I mean, we know why some of these things happen, but as far as when they're going to happen or things like that, the predictions, it's kind of a really good guess is what it ends up being. And so when they write, they think, okay, well, what we did was right. Well, no, not necessarily. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. And while this first intro portion is playing, I am going to go change my shirt. And I'm going to leave you here with Something Wong to keep an eye on all you people to make sure that you're not misbehaving, because absolutely nothing will not be tolerated. Oh, man. All right. So we got this up. Everything's good. Boom. Right off with the fucking circle of despair, right? Okay.
Is it Sphere? So we're going to hand it over to Alan for his opening statement there. Well, I think I might have gotten that backwards, but yeah, correct me, Alan. You got the floor.
Nailed it, brother. All right, cool. So we're going to go in with the prerequisites for the globe. So the biggest one being motion. So that's something that I'm going to cover. Let me set up the screen share. There's the button. Screen share.
Yeah, ready when you are.
Yeah, looking for the particular sharing window. Why does it
always disappear when you need it to be there, right?
Dude, when I need it, it's like, no, I don't know what to do.
Oh, well.
So let's see, screen one. All right, well, no worries. I'll just share monitor 2.
Go for it. This is an opportunity for everybody to smack the like button because we're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
All right. 1 second. So,
let me know
what do you see on your end?
Kinetics and dynamics is what we're seeing on our screen.
All right.
Is that right?
Well, it should be, but I just need to know which window it is.
Kinematics and dynamics. If you push F11, it'll full screen you.
F11. So do you, Toby, do you see the notes panel, or is this the...
Dude, I know, right? This dude's already like about to have a stroke. And it's like, I think that's what he's got, is his over-talking, condescending attitude and over-exasperated expressions of incredulity. Does that pretty much nail it down? I would say.
The actual presentation.
Actual presentation.
Got it. Okay, we're good. It's just on the opposite window for some reason. Okay, 1 second.
All right, I wasn't sure.
Sorry about that.
Delay. No, it's all good.
It just looks messed up on my end. Okay, so kinematics means measurement. Kinematics means measurement. Kinematics means measurement. In kinematics, relative motion is true. Some kinematic variables that you might see are t, x, v, a, etc. So distance, velocity, acceleration, right? Those are all kinematic variables. Now, this is going to be important because we're going to be covering motion in the sky. So when things move in a circle, the kinematic relationship becomes extremely important because you can use these variables to describe the motion. For example, the acceleration of the stars must be equal to their velocity squared over the radius, right? So that's kinematics. Now, dynamics gets into the prediction of future motion based on real forces in that system. So the distinction there is kinematics is motion, irregardless of the cause of motion. It's just measurements of the motion, right? And then dynamics is predictions of future motion based off of real forces. Okay, so in 1810 to 1818, a guy named Arago Francois did some experiments with a telescope to prove if the Earth was in motion or not. So what he did was, assuming a fixed ether and that light propagates through this stationary medium, the Earth would be moving through it, and you would have to adjust the focal length of your telescope to compensate for when viewing stars when you're receding or advancing towards them in 6-month intervals. What Arago found is that he didn't have to make any telescope corrections. So this is a huge failure for the dynamics of heliocentrism, as if the motion that is required existed, it would be manifest in these measurements. So here's a summary of the second experiment that Arago did involving a telescope. So in this one, he half covered the telescope with a prism. What he was looking for there was to see if the aberration angle would change when the starlight was passing through just regular air and when it was passing through the prism. What he found was that the aberration angle is independent. It doesn't matter. It requires no further correction, meaning that the starlight is already coming in at an angle. So to further settle the matter, in 1872, George Airy came in with his telescope and to finally put this matter to rest, right? Who's moving? Is it us or the sky? So the situation here is the telescope requires a slight angle to keep starlight coming in at the center.
Why do we have to keep telling these fucking idiots about this? Why is this a continuous thing? Every time we have to tell these fucking idiots. This has been beat to death like a dead horse, man. I mean, I'm not shitting.
If you were to fill the telescope with water, that would slow the speed of light down, and you would have to make additional corrections to keep the starlight in the center if the Earth's velocity is what was causing the deflection in the first place, right? So what Airy found was that he didn't have to make any further corrections. So that's a huge problem for heliocentrism. So here's the measurements that he put out. So this is in regards to Kinker-Fuse's hypothesis of an ether. So this is, again, a stationary ether, so that any corrections that are made to the telescope can be attributed to Earth's velocity, right? 1 second. So that's the important part to note here. This is not Airy didn't fail to detect the ether, right? This is a velocity measurement where the correction angle would be entirely attributed to the velocity to produce it, right? So they had a prediction that they were going to have to correct their telescope by 30 arc seconds when it was filled with water, and they only had to adjust it by 8 arc seconds. So it's another colossal failure for the dynamic predictions of motion for heliocentrism. Now we get into Kepler's laws and Newton's laws, right? So Kepler's laws and Newton's laws, they say, are covariant, meaning you can derive one from the other, but it's actually just kind of a trick because the mass in these equations cancels out, and it's all about the constants. So the big G, the big M, and the T for the periodicity of the event will output a cubed proportional radius for the orbit, or for the semi-major axis for the orbit, and it's all cube proportional. It has nothing to do with the mass of any of these planets. So what they do is they do everything in reference to the sun. So it'll be like the sun versus Mercury's orbit, or then the sun versus Venus's orbit, the sun versus Earth, etc. Right? All they're doing is just adjusting the periodicity of the event, and the constants remain the same. And the output gives them proportional orbital diameters, right? All right, so that's covering the sky optics.
You hear that? That's something wrong, and I'm afraid to turn around and look to see what it is that he's doing that's making that noise. Something wrong. Put it away. Stop.
Topics in kinematics and dynamics. So in addition to that, if Earth's orbital velocity truly existed and Newtonian dynamics was correct, you could measure Earth's orbital velocity with interferometry with first order measurements, and no such measurements exist. So 1887, Michelson-Morley attempted to make measurements of Earth's orbital velocity. They got 4 to 6 kilometers a second. Then Michelson, Gale, Pearson, where they were saying they were going to measure the sidereal rotation this time instead of the orbital velocity, because they gave up on that by this time, right? So they got fluctuations matching sidereal time measured in diurnal time. And this was another big failure for relativity, because the whole purpose of this was they were supposed to be calculating it based off of curved space-time, and they had to swap it in for flat space-time because they couldn't get enough inertial mass to curve space-time proportionally, right? So this was a failure for relativity to show that relativistic mass and inertial mass are equivalent, because the way that they had to do the calculations, it was a complete failure for them. Right, and then Michelson-Morley was continued by a guy named Dayton Miller, who found a porosity in the measurements. And when he did his final work, he started doing his measurements at altitude. So he did his last measurements at 8,200 feet above sea level and found that the drift extent goes to 6 to 8 kilometers a second. And this was further corroborated in 2002 and 2004 by Yuri Galev, who showed using 2 radio links that there is a vertical velocity gradient that gets stronger as you get closer to the sky. So what he measured, he corroborated Miller's work. And how that works is that basically on the surface of the Earth, the speed goes, is greatly diminished. Then as you increase in altitude, you start getting a faster translational speed measurement, and it increases with the square root of the height above ground level. So we have the linear measurements here, starting from Michelson-Morley, 1887, and more of Miller's work, and then Galev's work. So we have a linear gradient that's going up, and that's my time. I'm going to kick it over to Toby now.
Actually, I had another minute left on here because I started your time when you got the screen ready, but fair ball, over to you, Toby.
Yep.
Oh, you're on mute.
Cool. So let me go ahead and share my screen here.
All right, ready when you are.
That screen.
Actually, we're still screen sharing. So. You're really ready to go.
Cool. So you guys see my screen there then?
Yeah, we sure can.
Excellent. So we have 3 globe claims. Essentially, we have the claim of motion, we have the claim of curvature, and we have a claim of geophysics. So before we get into all of it, just so in case you didn't know, if you believe in the globe, you also have absorbed all of these paradoxes: the particle wave duality, the twin paradox, the Ehrenfest paradox, the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen paradox, Schrodinger's cat, Heisenberg uncertainty, Newman-Seliger gravitational paradox, the information paradox, Newton's shell theorem violation, also a violation of maximum momentum and minimum energy rotation, and also a violation of curved visual space, and many more. So let's start with motion here. So we feel no motion. All flight on Earth utilizes a stationary baseline. That includes planes, missiles, helicopters. Here we go. We have a flight simulation showing that they use a stationary Earth. Here we have dynamic positioning equations, and they show a non-rotating Earth. Here we have helicopter equations of motion, and they use a flat, non-rotating Earth. So a question: if pilots have to treat the Earth as stationary and we can't perceive any motion, is there any way we can measure it? Answer: yes, using the induction rate of light, which Alan just covered, we can measure absolute velocity as understood since at least 1818. In 1865, J.C. Maxwell worked upon Faraday's experiments, and he used known values of the electric constant and the magnetic constant in his electromagnetic wave equations, and he found that light behaves as an electromagnetic wave, which requires a substantive medium, aka the ether. And if you look throughout J.C. Maxwell's works, he repeatedly invokes the ether. It was a very well understood premise of all of science up until this point. And that's why in 1887, when they went to go do the Michelson-Morley experiment, they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew their math. They knew the induction rate of light. And so they used interferometry to measure the motion of the Earth. The independent variable would have been the orthogonal vector direction of the interferometer. And as they turned it, they would have got a difference in the fringe shift. And the result was that the Earth wasn't in motion. There was no orbital motion detected. There was a tiny bit of a fringe. And that tiny bit of fringe can actually be explained quite easily with a stationary Earth and an ether wind. So if we measure something to see if it's moving, and we get no measurement. It's not moving, right? Well, no, not really, because Albert Einstein in 1905 on the electrodynamics of moving bodies, he says there's no ether, there's a one-way speed of light, and it's always constant. You're not allowed to invoke absolute space or absolute time. Everything's relative. And he says, he invokes imaginary physical experiments. That's how he derives special relativity. He talks about an unsuccessful attempt to discover any motion of the Earth relatively to the light medium, and then he invokes imaginary physical experience. That's how he derives special relativity. So then you got 0.9 c plus 0.9 c equals less than c, aka 2 plus 2 does not equal 4, because that's what Einstein told us with his crazy math. And then in 1913, George S. Sagnac came along and he said, hey, look, I'm going to rotate the interferometer. What do you know? As I rotate it, the proportional velocity of that rotation actually gets measured in the fringe shift. So it's actually not, the speed of light's not constant. It's measured proportionally to its velocity. And then in 1920s, Dayton Miller came and did a bunch more measurements. He actually started measuring with the interferometer over periods of time, and he found a preferred direction of the speed of light. The ether flow matches the motion of the sky, and the measurement is greater at altitude, and that's related to the motion of the solar system. But then in 1925, they came along and they tried to measure the exact same thing, even though they already measured it once. And they said they got a null result. This time they measured it again. They said, oh, that's the rotation of the Earth. So then in 2001, Yuri Galev came along, and now all this time they've
They don't pay any attention to anything that goes against what they think, but only the shit that does go with what they think, right? They'll blame it on some other bullshit. See, that's what happens right there. Oh, what's up, Stinky Cash?
Yo, dog.
What's up, dog? What's happening, brother?
I'm just gonna listen in.
What'd you think about my idea about that, man? About with the sun and why we feel the heat? Or were you not around for that? Because I'm going to bring up a thing here in a little while and show you about it. It's that little article that I found, not on the sun, but if you are able to think about it and you look at what's going on with the device itself and put that to what we already know about our flat Earth, it'll really make sense, man. Especially the copper coil part, man. It's really cool. Anyway, we'll go on with this.
Never once acknowledged what Dayton Miller said, the fact that at higher altitudes you actually get a greater ether wind. But Galev came along, analyzed his work, found the same thing. Then Galev also did his own experimentation, which corroborated the exact same thing, which Alan already covered. And then in 2004, Ruyong Wang came along. Remember how they said you can only measure that velocity in a rotational vector? Well, guess what? Ruyong Wang explicitly showed that it's actually it can be shown with a linear vector. So if you can measure rotational motion of a linear vector, that means in 1887 they would have measured the motion of the Earth, but they didn't. So, and he says here, this would suggest a nanoscale sensitivity. He patented a speedometer based off this exact thing, and he worked with the Naval Research Laboratory to do these experiments. They gave him money, they loaned him the fiber optic gyros that he used to do the experiments. So make of that what you will. But so let's move on now to the pendulum. In 1954, Maurice Elias observed anomalous behavior of his pendulum, and the effect was named the Elias effect. He observed it again in 1956, 1959. He wrote the anisotropy of space, necessary revision of certain postulates in 1997, and then this is showing the eclipse of 1959. You can see in the middle here where you can actually see the full totality of the eclipse, and you see that there's an anomalous behavior of the pendulum. And then he says this is totally inexplicable in the context of the current theory. And here it is again, 1955, another Elias effect. And it's so interestingly, not only did he measure the fact that the totally anomalous behavior during eclipses, but also the pendulum precession rate is relative to the sidereal motion of the sun and moon, aka their annual sky movement. So as the sun and the moon are moving back and forth on their analemma, that's actually affecting the way that the periodicity of not only interferometry as Dayton Miller showed, but also the precession of the pendulum.
Whoops. There I go.
Brother, I've never heard anybody talk so fast.
Hey, dude, if I go out, I'll be right back. This thing's going to reboot on me. I know it.
Oh, no. Yeah, bro, you talk super fast. It's hard to follow you.
Come on, you fucking thing.
Did I just take over the stream? What is happening right now? Can y'all hear me? I don't know if you can hear me or not. Give me a 1 in the chat if you can hear Stinky.
Okay, I made it. It's a damn thing rebooted on me. That's why I say if that happens, it means I hit a gravity pocket. So we're back. Hello, everyone. Globy is backstage wanting to come up. Globy, I'll bring you up, but we've been bombed by like bots and artificial intelligence and shit like that so badly recently. I'm going to ask you to turn on your camera.
Here.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to turn your camera on so that I can actually verify that you're a human, not a robot. You know, one of those CAPTCHA type deals. Okay. So Globy is backstage and wants to come up. And in order to come up, see, I verified Stinky Cash as a human. And I need to verify that you're not a robot. So I need you to show yourself on camera and verify that you're a human being. And then I will consider bringing you up on the panel. Is that cool? So just turn on your camera and wave at me if that's cool. So anyway, let me bring this back up. All right. Right where we left off. Look at there. God, I don't know what the hell happened, Cash. I really don't. This thing was fucking up on me, man. It's doing the same thing before goddamn Geek Squad got a hold of it and shit too, man. I'm going to have my cousin come take a look at it. That's what I'm going to have to do. He knows what the fuck he's talking about. Anyway.
Reinitializing in the incident layer. So they do this for they do things for computational efficiency. This is all based on computations. This is not measurements. And this is showing here, this is doing benchmarks. They use a one stage MSPM, and it delivers the same solution accuracy under less CPU time than the regular SPM. Then what do you know? That's actually going 2D versus 3D. And the code of multi-stage FMM is in Cartesian coordinates for 2D models and spherical coordinates for 3D models. So this is all based on computations. If we had the same type of supercomputer, we could easily do it with a flat Earth model.
Really? Because I happen
Look at, here he goes. Here he goes with his fucking mouth.
to be an expert in flat Earth seismic models, and I can tell you,
Flat Earth seismic models. I know people that are experts in model railroads. Yeah, man. They know everything about the gauges and the different brands, different layouts. Are they railroad engineers? No.
that I'm still speaking, and I can tell you that we've done research papers on how far you can treat the Earth as flat, and the answer is less than 200 kilometers. On length scales more than 200 kilometers, your tomography falls apart and your arrival times shatter. So you trying to lecture me on this subject is particularly engaging. But I'd like to share a post now.
So what about the fact that in those papers they literally said if you just did a time differential, you could make it work on a flat Earth?
They're talking about sites that are less than 200 kilometers away from the
but then you
away
just
from
have
the
to
initiating
have to
event.
change your time.
Don't overtalk me.
Good.
Don't yell, man. This is just a debate.
Okay, don't overtalk me, and I won't yell.
Conversating with me, and I'm conversating with you. That's
no,
how it goes.
You're interrupting me, trying to cut me off.
For no reason.
Just to interrupt here. I'm sorry, gentlemen. But yeah, when you do raise your voice like that, Anthony, it is clipping the mic. So
clipping. That was just over the top, freaking the fuck out right there, man.
It does break the threshold of what I have.
Okay,
here.
but as soon so I've just established that I've published in this discipline, that I've read heavily in this discipline, and while I'm trying to explain results in this discipline, this guy wants to interrupt me, and I don't think it's reasonable.
Let's forget the meta. Let's give you a minute.
So
there.
let's look at this. This is a plot of observations versus predictions. The earthquake, the waveform arrivals are shown as dots, and the model predictions are shown as solid lines.
Can I ask
Now,
a question?
Mercedes fan, was that you, Globy? Why all you have to do is turn on your camera. Is that really so difficult? If you're an actual person, are you ashamed of yourself or something? I mean, if you find yourself that offensive to look at, I certainly don't want to expose my audience to it. So all you have to do is just prove that you're an actual human and not a robot. Is that so much to ask? Of course not. You haven't destroyed anything. All you did was giggle like a gerbil was trying to escape your colon. That's it, man. God.
Like Timothy.
Yeah, I know who you are. I know who you are, Mercedes. You're Timothy. You're Bob. You're Glove Lover Bob. You're Liam. I think you are having an identity crisis. I mean, pretty soon we're just going to call you Sybil. Okay? I mean, Timmy! Come on, Timmy! All you got to do is show yourself on camera there, dickwad. It's not hard to do.
You will. Yes.
How is this extrapolated out to a map?
You will notice that the angular separation is given down the bottom in degrees.
Okay, so are you using computations?
The dots are observations.
Based on what? In relation to what?
So the initiating event is at the origin, time 0, down the bottom. That's the bottom left-hand corner of the figure. The time at which the wavefront is detected at the Fourier seismometer at a given angular distance away is recorded as a dot.
Okay, so you have some computations. Gotcha.
There are computations, yes, but you seem to have missed the part where there are observations.
I mean, I already kind of clarified, right? That we can compute this on 101 million ways, especially if we throw more computational power at it. We can compute
no,
it on
you
millions of
can't.
ways to compute it.
No, you can't, and I'm about to demonstrate why.
Machine learning would be one way.
Because on a flat Earth,
Where'd we get that R value from, man? Where'd you get that? Based on an assumption? Yep.
the distance that the wave has to. So in this case, the red dot is the epicenter. The black star is the focal event. You can look at the surface distance between the epicenter and the receiver, which is the white circle, is the same in both formulations, in the flat Earth formulation and the spheroidal formulation. But you will see that in the spheroidal formulation, it has to travel a significantly shorter distance. Okay, and when you look back at the observations, what do you know? The average velocity that the seismic waves takes decreases as you go with greater angular separation. They seem to be arriving faster than they should. It's not just a linear extrapolation of distance, which it should be if the Earth is flat. So this set of data is.
He's why other races hate white people.
Is completely inconsistent with a flat Earth formulation. And I put it to you, sir, that you have no training in seismology, that you have no training in geophysics, and that you are opining on a subject that you are simply unqualified to opine on.
Oh,
So
simply
you're not gonna be
unqualified. Unqualified to opine on. Who the fuck are you? The king of fucking shit, man? See, I said, I don't do well with authority figures, man. People that, because I'm not questioning their authority, I'm denying its existence. Okay? There's a difference there. Yeah, snooty as fuck. Flat Earth Gary Fox says, Who did I see? That machinist guy in here? Did I see that guy in here? I thought I did. Because I know this guy. He's a machinist. Pretty cool dude, man. Pretty cool dude. Wait, do these idiots act like idiots? Oh, wait, they are idiots. Yes, you are absolutely 100% right, my friend. 100%. Oh, man. Ouch. See, that's why I say, this is why I call it, let's see if I can tolerate this guy. Because I've only watched it in pieces. And well, of course, that's what we're doing now, and what the hell, it's fun. And who knows what might happen. This is why I told my friend earlier, I love having my streams go late night. You know why? Because the freaks come out at night. The freaks come out at night. That's why we get some freaky people out
Explain
here,
it to
man.
me, because you actually can't explain it to me, can you?
I just did explain it to you, and
I
if you,
can't
I
understand it or
just
something.
did
You're
explain
just
it
going
to
to
you, sir.
gaslight me without any
I
substance.
just did explain it to you, sir.
All right. We'll give you we'll give you a couple seconds there, Toby. If anybody else has any other thoughts, or if you wanted to do a screen share, but
Sorry, I cut off Darryl again.
oh, sorry as well.
And I'd love to bring up the papers that you brought up in your debate with Witzig, because I actually went through those, and I actually, did you understand the point that I made about changing the time differential to make it work on a flat Earth model? And they even said that in the paper that you brought up.
Yes, they did for local wavelengths.
That was talking about it's literally in the paper. It's literally the part where they're talking about the discrepancy between the far distance and the short distance. So it's actually talking about that specifically.
Yes, and what's the conclusion of the paper, sir? The conclusion of the paper is that flat Earth models should not be used for distances over 180 kilometers, isn't it?
Change the time differential.
Yes, so time has to magically change, does it, sir? Is that physics?
Speed could change, right? And what is speed is a measure of time over distance, right? So actually,
no, speed is not time over.
He's kind of alluding to what I was talking about. Okay, it's one thing to demonstrate a wave going through water. Okay, because it's one consistent medium. But when we're talking about a wave of energy going through the ground, we have to consider the multitudes of different densities and materials that are what make up that ground between point A and point B. And as we all know, waves, the speed at which they travel, are greatly affected by the medium that they're in. This is why when you go up to higher altitude, it's harder to create sound. Sound starts deadening. It's just a fact. That's how, because there's less air to vibrate to create the sound that your eardrums are taking in. Okay. All right. We change the medium. We change the rate at which a wave propagates. It's not real difficult to figure out, right? So if we've got a wave of energy that's going through a multitude of different materials, in other words, different mediums, then what the hell? How do you account for all of that? You don't. They're treating it like it's all one thing. They always do that. It's always just one thing. Gravity.
The distance.
Oh, wow, you got me. Earth must be a globe. No, so if the distance is relevant in that equation, right? Then that must just mean that maybe there's a difference when you start going below the Earth's surface. Maybe you don't actually know. Maybe you don't actually know what the Earth is made up of. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me.
I don't want to put you.
Oh, but I'm a seismologist. Oh, you're not qualified. Suck my ass. What a peckerhead. He just looks angry. See, I would have took advantage of that because that dude looked like he was going to stroke out. I would have figured out what made him stroke the worst, and I would have focused on it. See if I could get him to stroke out on live TV. That would be fucking epic. That's a clippable moment. Gregory B scared me? What? Greg, are you out there scaring people? Greg Brayton, behave yourself. Yeah, push him right to the limit. See how much he can take. That's the ultimate stress test, right? I know.
Tony,
interrupt
we
me.
got to let him finish
Maybe
his
you
thought.
don't actually know what's beneath the surface of the earth. Maybe you're wrong about it. Maybe the speed would be a little bit different because your assumptions are all based on assertions of a bunch of magnetogeology, geology, sedimentary rocks that don't add up. A bunch of things that don't add up. That's all confounded on each other.
He's just
And
word
you
salad
have
at this
an iron
point, Ryan.
core that doesn't work with Newton's shell theorem. It's like a violent.
That hit his fucking cog disc so hard that he had to jump to the now becoming more popular word salad. Whoa. What the fuck part of that didn't you understand, Tony? We all got it here. In fact, I just talked about it before the dude brought it up. That's fucking badass.
Violates the first law of gravity. It's insane.
All right, we're gonna let
He's
Darryl
just-
and Alan in here. Sorry, Tony, just because
Okay,
we
I
haven't heard
want to
from them.
respond to that.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
I
I just
would
told
like to respond.
Tony is an expert on this stuff, so
Sure.
I'm actually I would like to jump in on a different topic when he finished with this topic, but
Okay.
Question for all you guys out there, though, Greg, especially you. Is it Gregory or is it Grigori? Which one's correct and why? Just food for thought, not important. It's off topic, but just something that came up, you know.
far be it from me to try to talk about seismology and earthquakes when Tony's here. So I'm fine with him handling this, and I want to talk more about Mickelson and interferometry and stuff like that.
That time adjustment that you're suggesting is applied to the seismic stations. It's not applied to travel within the Earth. You are basically adjusting the seismic stations. That's what you're doing when you do that time adjustment. So you're saying that for some reason time doesn't flow linearly at Earth's surface.
It's not.
And again, sir,
it's the wave propagation.
it's amazing to me that you're here arguing for flat Earth rather than the authors of the paper you suggest supports flat Earth.
Time only relates when it comes to the varying speed of the wave propagation, man. Here's Greg. Greg knows a little bit about ground and shit like that, man. What's happening, Mr. Greg?
Hey, dude. Sorry. Oh,
you're out of uniform. Where's your hat?
Oh. Damn it. Oh, here it is.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Somebody said that I reminded him of that dude in the fucking.
Dude, you are the flat Earth dude. The flat Lebowski.
Dude.
Namaste. Namaste.
I'll learn you something good about Greg, the name Greg. If you have Greg, that's short for Gregory. If you have
is that little G or big G?
Shut up. There's
good one, Cash. Good one. I see what you did there. I see what you did there, brother.
If I have two G's at the end of Greg, so Gregg, that second G acts like a period, and there's no Ori at the end. So it's just Greg.
Okay.
That's something I learned like 10 years ago. I'm 44, so I don't know. That's kind of interesting.
Here's the thing too, is that if you look at how after a consonant that follows a vowel indicates whether it's going to have the long or short spelling of it, right? So in your case with Greg, we have the double G, which gives us the short sound E, right?
Yes.
So there again, I wonder when we see it the other way, it should be actually Grigori. Otherwise, it would have two G's, right?
I'm going to look into this now.
I mean, that's just, with my understanding of language in the English language, I mean, that kind of makes sense to me. So it would be Grigori or Greg.
I don't want to be a Greek.
Be interesting. Maybe Gregory, it does sound like that. Maybe in an Eastern dialect, Grigori, And yeah, I think I'm onto something because that is how the Russians call it.
Damn, another rabbit hole.
Grigori. Yeah. Maybe I'm on something. Another rabbit hole for y'all. Another rabbit hole. Yeah.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Oh, you didn't have to go nowhere, bro.
that was quick.
Yeah, man.
Why do you think that is?
He's a good guy.
Wait, so you want me now to go into the mind of the person that published the paper and talk about what their motives are in their life?
No, I want
Is
you
that
to
supposed to be
concede.
that's supposed to edify the listeners of this debate?
I want you to concede that the authors of the paper do not agree with your interpretation of its content.
So do I also have to absorb their favorite color, their favorite food, their favorite ice cream too? Or if I disagree with that, does that mean that I must be wrong about everything that they say?
Well, let's take a
Real quick, I'm sorry, I laughed my ass off, Joey. That was awesome. Joey Boyle says I have trouble computing the name Geoff.
You know what? As someone named Jeff with a J, I have to agree with Joey.
Yeah, I'm like, where's that come from? How do you get Jeff out of that?
I think, well, I mean, I've thought about this. Obviously, I'm named Jeff, and my middle name is George, which is also Geo, right? Geo, which means Earth, right? Doesn't that mean the Earth?
Yeah, I would say so.
So maybe there's a connection between the name Jeffrey and George, and
maybe it's Geo, for fuck's sake. It's what it's short.
Geoffrey, like Geoffrey Chaucer.
Right? Or that, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Oh, the Gregorian, like the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah.
Jeffrey the giraffe, also one of my favorite mascots.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna be a Gregorian monk, but I never got the chance.
I was gonna be an altar boy, but
do you get it? Listen, oh man, come on. I recognized your play on words. I said I never got the chance.
Ooh,
Gregorian chance.
Oh, I did not pick up on that.
I'm tricky that way. Guy told me the other day, we were talking about stellar navigation, and he said, you can't be serious. And I said, I am dead serious. And I spelled serious like the star.
And I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I love that song, man. I always did like that song. I really got into Alan Parsons. I like the mixing, because I appreciated everything that went into it. My younger brother, he was like, he heard me listening to it and he started liking it. And he's like, how come there's never any Alan Parsons concerts, man? Right. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Those musicians probably never even meet each other.
That was like a studio band, I believe. I mean, Alan Parsons was the studio engineer for the Dark Side of the Moon album for
what's
Pink
that album?
Floyd.
Wait, what's that album called?
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, did you know that Mandela?
What is it now?
The Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, back in my day, that's how we could tell a square. A square would call it that. They thought Pink Floyd was a guy, and they would say, "Oh yeah, the Dark Side of the Moon," and it's like, no, it's just Dark Side of the Moon, bro.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's changed to the Dark Side of the Moon. There's a lot of truth in that cover, as simple as it is.
Now, of course, on the global model, there is no dark side of the moon. Mm-hmm. During a new moon, to steelman the globe model, during a new moon, the back side of the moon is lit.
Right.
So there's really no dark side of the moon in their global model. There's only a back side of the moon. And of course, we've never seen the backside of the moon from Earth, only in CGI images produced from NASA.
So dig this, bro. I'm like, look at the cover and the name of it, right?
Like it's Newton's.
It's a height. It's a hint, and I'm telling you, man, I've been thinking for the longest time.
Are you talking about like the white light being turned into a rainbow through a prism?
I'm talking into the moon actually being a fucking projection.
Interesting. Could be. I mean, we've seen the lunar wave. We've verified the lunar wave.
So the thing I'm looking at, it's like there's some hints in that. I think, that for those in the initiate, I think there's people already know this shit.
Well, I think the sun and the moon are directly correlated with gold and silver.
They are.
Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if the moon is literally cast out of silver. And I own a furnace. I've melted metal before. I've casted silver. I've casted copper before. And when you pour metal, say, into a cold mold, you can get it to bubble and create craters in the surface of the metal, exactly like you see on the surface of the moon. Circular craters.
Mhm.
That's an effect from casting. Those are not meteor impacts. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's also let's see, the sun is gold, the moon is represented as silver, Mercury, of course, is Mercury.
Is Mercury, right?
I believe Venus is copper. I have this written down somewhere. I went over it the other night. But the moon is copper, or the moon is silver. Mars, I think, is iron, and Saturn is lead. So in alchemy, these planets all represent one of the noble metals. So that's kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah. And what's interesting, you've heard the expression "get the lead out," right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're refining gold and you're going through the chemical processes of separating gold from ore, the very last step is to separate the lead from the gold. So that's the final step in extracting gold, is to get the lead out.
Mm-hmm. See, I didn't know. Now I've been around where they did a lot of gold mining, silver mining, platinum mining. I mean, all kinds of mines out there in Death Valley and the Mojave Desert. It's insane. Talc, the talc mines. That's interesting. We went out there and I was walking around and I'm like, you could film a moon movie here, because there's just this white dust on the ground. It looks like what they showed you, the lunar landscape. And I was like,
yeah,
this would be really easy. Then you just come out here at night and put some floodlights on the dudes and film them, put it down to like quarter speed or half speed or whatever, and make it look like they're bouncing around on the moon and shit. I thought that would be easier than fuck, man. Of course, they never did it, but anyway, we'll see. Let's watch Tony. Tony Stripe.
A particular example. You quote the ally effect.
Not how that works. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, right?
You quote the Elias effect. The Elias effect is a deflection from the standard precession of a Foucault pendulum, which is compared against predictions based on a rotating Earth. So if you accept that the Elias effect is real, then you are accepting Earth rotation is real. So the idea that this pattern of you introducing a scientific result and ignoring the observations that underlie this scientific result is more general than seismology. And to me, it's a deeply concerning thing. To be brutally honest, it seems deceptive.
Wait a minute. It's deeply concerning. How is it deeply concerning? How would that be deeply concerning? Okay. I don't know if y'all, do you ever watch Dutch Sense, Cash? You ever watch him? So I was watching him one night, and this guy's really great at predicting earthquakes and shit. In fact, the USDS has been behind trying to get this guy fucking censored, kicked off YouTube. He'll go live and he's like predicting these earthquakes and shit. I was watching him one night when there was like a whole bunch of these earthquakes were going off all over the place. And he was right in the middle of what he was showing and what he was going to predict what would happen next. He said, and I'm starting to get the idea that this thing is not a ball. He said that right in the middle. I couldn't believe it. I was listening to him and I was like, holy shit.
What do you think drew him to that conclusion?
Was studying the way that these waves were actually working, what it causes it to do to other areas and where you're going to see the next pressure. This guy has been like dead nuts, almost accurate on predicting when, where, and what magnitude of an earthquake is going to be coming. And it's like he's on all the time. He beats USGS to the punch all the time. And that's one of the reasons that they go after him. Is it not because he was propagating flat earth or anything, but I heard him say that one night. And I said, that's big for a seismologist to say. And he's going to come to the conclusion he's on the right track. Now,
well, it's important to get people with credentials, because we're always dealing with these globe trolls that, beg the credentials fallacy. And it's like this loser guy, what's his name, Tony. This whole time, his only arguments are, I'm the expert, I'm the seismologist, I'm the expert, so you have to listen to me, and you're not classically trained, and you're not educated, and you need to go back to government indoctrination camp to get a re-education. Like, what's with them when they say you need to go to get they basically say you need to get a re-education. It's so creepy.
I know. I hate that. Well, the word education, and most of my audience already knows this, that in my it says I am not a bot, I am Tim. No, you're a bot. Mud Fossil University.
Well, we could probably prove he's a bot. I fuck with ChatGPT all the time, and I get that thing all tied up in circles. I bet we can get Timothy all tied up in circles too if he's an actual bot.
Well, we've done it before, and it causes him to giggle.
Yes, that's. I agree. Whenever you lead him into a trap, I said this earlier on a little live stream I did. You lead him into a trap. He has no response because, like, the program, I guess whenever it's about to contradict itself, he just starts giggling like a little girl.
Yeah. So, and he wouldn't, all he had to do, I didn't say, I wasn't wanting him to have be on camera up on in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Backstage, you can show yourself on camera. You're not in the show, but you show yourself on camera. All he would have had to do is turn it on, and I'd say, okay, now raise your right hand and touch your face or something like that.
True.
And then I would be able to verify that he actually was. At least better than just some little voice behind a thing giggling,
Yeah, seems simple enough, and yet he couldn't do it.
He wouldn't do it. In fact, when I called him on to do that the last time, he quit. He popped right out like he did this time. And then he was whining in the chat about it, and I'm like, all you got to do is turn on your camera. Other people was in the chat telling him, if you're using a smartphone, you got a camera. Come on.
Well, I think you gotta. If you're going to talk to these Globers who are even potentially bots, I think you need to qualify them in the beginning by asking them to steel man basic flat earth arguments.
All right.
Because I have a feeling the artificial intelligence is not capable of regurgitating flat earth arguments.
Or it's restricted from doing it.
That's what I mean. So if you say, what is the flat earth, what is the flat earth explanation for east-west circumnavigation? And if they can't answer that, then they have no business being in a debate, being in a chat, being in a live stream.
Right.
And I have a feeling the AI is programmed in such a way where it's not capable of having an understanding of the flat earth theory or any conspiracy theories. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's programmed as limited.
Well, the thing is that I really, when I hear the term education, and like I was saying, my audience knows this, okay, that to me doesn't mean knowledge. In fact, the more education someone has, in my opinion, and from what I observed, means the more vested into this matrix system they are.
Right.
Okay? It doesn't mean they have great deals of knowledge. No. They have memorized the shit that someone else told them, and the person that told them that was told the same way. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is how this thing works. It's robots programming robots, and it's just, like playing telephone. So when you come into this, and because it is just that, a programming, and we're seeing an acceleration in that with the way they're teaching in schools now. They're teaching to pass the test.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
I get what you mean by the programs. Yeah, it's like when they say how many people would have to be in on the lie. It's like, no, man. It's like, no, that teacher in public school, that liberal, overweight, middle-aged woman, right? That's what most public school teachers are, right? Liberal, obese women. She's just as brainwashed and just as deceived as everyone else. She's not in on the lie. Right. And her teacher wasn't in on the lie. Her teacher is just as brainwashed as she is. We're multiple generations of teaching the lie.
Yep.
And only the best of us are able to see through the lie and break free from it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, once you realize how it was done, you know, and you start getting into you can get into more of the intricacies as I am, as I start looking into this whole thing about maps and the coordinate system. But people get this idea through multiple generations that, well, everybody knows this, you know. Well, do they truly know it? No, knowing and being told are actually two different things, and it all comes down to a level of trust. But when you know, when you start looking at some of the impossibilities, it's sort of like when you start questioning the existence of Santa Claus, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets in kind of fear. I want to put it into this context, right? All these parents in the neighborhood, they're down they teach their kids that Santa Claus comes at Christmas time. All right. So all these little kids believe in Santa Claus. And when one little kid asks a question, he starts having some questions about it. They have their stock answers that they give their kids. But pretty soon one of the kids comes to the conclusion or sees it's actually daddy, or it's some other kind of thing it's not Santa Claus, or it leads them into the idea that it isn't Santa Claus. Oh, there's a puppy. And so then this is where they have to go into damage control, right? So they start making excuses to cover what the kid's question was with something else that they can't really test, right? So to try to keep them in that belief. But once the kid realizes that it is not Santa Claus, what's the first thing that the parents say? Okay, you're absolutely right. Okay, but you cannot tell your brother and sister, and don't go around telling your friends, because they actually still believe they're in Santa Claus. All right,
Keep the lie going for everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's
it's like you're now like initiated into the, like, I mean, it's I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily think that's what's going on with the globe. I just think the globe is such a big deception.
Right. Well,
that,
it's because nobody ever was told, no, okay, you're right. Now we're going to just keep it to yourself, though. No, they keep going, trying to make the lie even more believable with making excuses for all of the legitimate questions that you have about it. They come up, and if they don't have an answer, it's going to be gravity, refraction, or parallax.
Gravity and refraction. They love those two things, but it's all ad hoc. You know, most of the explanations that they have, you know, about the anomalies with the moon landing, you know, most of those they came up with over the years after the objections were raised. You know, you say, like when Neil Armstrong takes the very first step on the moon and the camera looks like it's about 50 feet away from the lunar lander. And you say, well, who the hell is filming this? Who was the first man on the moon to film Neil Armstrong taking the first steps on the moon? And then they'll come up with an ad hoc explanation. Oh, well, there was a camera attached to a robotic arm that came off the lunar lander. It's like, do you really believe that? Does that even sound possible? Like
that motherfucker's still up there too. He was already there. He's still up there too. He's the one that filmed them leaving when they took off.
They have. I have that saved on my phone. I've had it saved on my phone for like 8 or 9 years. The footage of them taking off from the moon. It's supposed to be 1/6 the gravity, and yet think about all the power, like all the energy from the rockets they need to take off from Earth. Right, those big explosions, and then think about how they took off from the moon. Like, I don't believe there was 1/6 the energy to leave the moon, but
no.
It's like, well, who was left behind on the moon to film them taking off? Because it's not a still camera. The camera actually pans upwards and follows the spaceship. So it's like, well, then who did that? And they'll say, oh, well, you know, they had it on a remote control and they controlled it from Houston, and then they beamed the video 240,000 miles. Like, how do you even do that? How do you do that in 2024, let alone 1969?
There's the guy that did it right there. He's right behind me. Something Wong was my handler. He was the guy that filmed it. He told me so.
Oh, right, because you're on the ISS right now.
Oh, that's right. the IFS.
Well, let me just say that last night Austin Whitsitt was doing a stream, NASA exposed or NASA fraud, and he just showed all sorts of trickery and problems with the ISS footage. He's showing the guys flipping. You know how they love to do the flips to prove that they're up there, but they're clearly on wires, and multiple times, 4 or 5 times, they get caught on the wires. Then they're reaching up to grab the wires, and it's so blatantly obvious. And his stream got taken down by YouTube shortly after he ended it.
Yeah, I wondered what that was about. I guess they said it was a copyright. I asked Jaron about it.
BBC.
Oh yeah.
Even though that's fair use, we're clearly using. I mean, if anything, that's government footage, right?
Yeah,
so
but
like,
BBC, that's the royalties.
No, I understand, but if we're looking at footage from the ISS, that's all filmed by the government, which means we paid for it. Which means if we want to review it on YouTube, I mean, I'm pretty sure we have the right to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Austin exposed them so bad last night that they literally have to remove it from YouTube. And Jaron did the same thing 2-3 weeks ago. He had 2 consecutive live streams. They were like 3-4 hours each, just NASA exposed. And it's like the live streams get so long because there's so much fakery.
We see it. We see them trying to cover their ass so much in real time, just like that. Get rid of the information, don't let people see it. But I mean, even up to and including like in that discussion we had regarding level last night. I mean, I went through the entire dictionary from 1975. Right? This thing's paper and ink, unabridged. This thing's like 8 inches thick, right? And the entire one middle column is devoted to the word level. And nowhere in there is anything about being about a curve of the earth or perpendicular to to the center of a globe or any other fucking shit like that, man. There's nothing in there about it. So what they did, because people were bringing that up, right? That level is exactly as it's defined, right? And so what do? The Ministry of Truth, they go in and they change the definition, just like they added another definition for vaccine to include the RMNA thing, right? So they just change it. The Ministry of Truth can just change online information at the click of a button. But the beauty of this is they can't come in my house and take this fucking dictionary.
Right.
Yet.
Not yet. Maybe they can Mandela it, but
I don't think they can do Mandela. No, I think Mandela is a supernatural thing that's occurring. They haven't got nothing to fucking do with it. They'd like to think they do.
I'm just talking on my ass. Another word that they changed the definition of to cover their tracks is they changed the definition of the word inflation. If you find a dictionary from the 60s or the 70s, and you look up the word inflation, and I'm talking about like monetary policy, the word inflation meant an increase in the money supply. The thing that was being inflated was the money supply. And as a result of more money chasing the same amount of goods and services, prices go up as a result. But the prices going up, that's not the inflation. That's the result of the inflation. Okay.
Right.
But they changed the definition of inflation to mean prices going up because they don't want you to know the cause of why prices are going up. They don't want you to know that prices are going up because they keep printing more money and making more loans. They want you to think
the prices aren't going up. The value of your money's going down.
Exactly, but they don't want you to know that. So they just say inflation is prices going up. That way they can blame it on other things like production problems and corporate greed and computer chip shortages, right? But it has nothing to do with that. It's always been about the money supply.
Yep.
So that was a little tangent.
And in this world right now, debt is money.
Our currency, yeah. I like to really differentiate my words when it comes to money versus currency and dollars versus Federal Reserve notes, because we use these words interchangeably, and they actually have much different meanings, right? So, like, what we call a dollar bill is not really a dollar. That's a Federal Reserve note for a dollar.
Right. A dollar is actually a unit of silver.
It's a unit of silver. It's like 0.77 troy ounces of silver. It's always been defined that way. That's why the dollar sign is an S with a line through it. It literally, it's a silver dollar. That Federal Reserve note that says $1, that's got the pyramid on the back, that's just an IOU for $1.
Yep.
But it isn't $1, right?
Go ahead.
To finish, a silver dollar, well, that's worth about 25 Federal Reserve notes.
Yep.
It's not worth one Federal Reserve note. It's worth about 25.
Yep.
So a dollar and a Federal Reserve note are very different, just like money and currency are very different.
Yeah, 100. Yeah. That's what I said. I said that when I had to go pay my county taxes a few weeks back, or maybe a couple of months ago. I don't remember now. Anyway, I go in there and I gave that woman the money, and she stamped my little paper, gave me the receipt, and I says, "Now," I said, "do you realize that what we just did is actually illegal?" She goes, "What are you talking about? You paying me money is illegal?" I says, "I didn't give you money. I gave you debt. It's illegal to pay a debt with a debt." And she goes, "What?" So I was like there for about 10 minutes and explained it to her. She was left going.
The only thing that gives Federal Reserve notes value is the barrel of a government shotgun.
Yeah, absolutely.
The government made laws, legal tender laws, because the currency, right? So even I sometimes mix up the words, because the currency has no actual value, no actual intrinsic value of any kind. The government has to make a law that says you have to accept it, right? That's what it says on the paper, on the Federal Reserve note. That little piece of paper is a contract, and it says that this note is good for all debts, public or private. You must accept it as a payment of debt, and if you don't, well, now you're in violation. And technically, what backs the laws of the United States? It's our military. So you have to accept those debt notes at the end of a government shotgun.
So I have Timothy Chalamet backstage. Could be a coincidence.
That's the name of an actor who played Willy Wonka.
Is it?
Yeah, that's not his real name.
Oh, awesome. So Timothy, if you could, you won't be up on the stream. I can see you backstage though. So as I told the last Timothy that showed up without a last name, that if you want me to bring you up on the panel, simply turn on your camera and verify that you are indeed an actual person and not a bot. Please, can you do that? That's kind of like my form of CAPTCHA, where the thing will say, "Prove you're not a robot." That's what I'm doing right now. So when you're ready to go ahead and come on, all you have to do is just turn on the camera, let me verify that you're a human being, and then we'll bring you right up on panel.
So he says, I'm not a bot. I am Tim. Yeah, that really makes you sound not like a bot.
Yeah, I'm serious, man. Just turn on your camera, bro. You typing that in there, Chat GPT could type that to me, and that doesn't make him any more real of a person. So I'm not interested in talking to an AI. I want to talk to a human being. So just turn on your camera and prove.
But did you notice the dude last night that you had on, that guy named Connor? He had all the same. Yeah. He had the same conversational algorithm that Timothy had. It was like he did the whole buoyancy into gravity.
Yeah.
Right into mistaking cause and effect, and then his proof that there was an atmospheric gradient to the Earth was that there's an atmospheric gradient to the Earth.
Okay, so he turned on his camera, but he didn't show himself. Okay, so showing me a picture of somebody's fucking living room ceiling or something is not proof that you're not a bot. Turn on your camera, put your pretty little mug in the camera, remain there, because I'm going to have you do a couple of things to verify that you're actually a person and not a video clip. And then I will bring you up on the thing. It's real simple. Okay. Nobody else is going to see you. If you're worried, if you're ugly or hideous or anything, trust me, I've seen some horrific things in my life. I can take it.
Why don't you just let him on? I'm up for a good laugh. I'm gonna mute my
laugh. All right,
I'm gonna mute my mic temporarily.
All right, let me see what we can do here. Wait a second. I'm gonna do this though. I gotta get everything set up here real quick. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and bring Toby up to the stage. Oh, you didn't get a favorable response.
Finally.
I'm sorry.
Timmy is back.
Timmy. So what's
Timothy, real quick, Timothy, to start the conversation, can you explain how east/west circumnavigation works on the flat Earth?
I don't do that.
You can't steel man the flat Earth position of how east/west circumnavigation works.
I don't do navigation. I do gravity. I do Mixamorally. I do ether.
So steel man the flat Earth position of why objects fall.
Yeah, I know why you basically you guys live in the year 600.
Steel manning something is, Timothy?
You guys live in the year.
Timothy,
bro,
you don't
do you want me to respond or not?
Well, you weren't, but you weren't responding, Timothy. You don't have to believe in it to be able to understand our position. So we're just asking you to steel man our position.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, go for it.
Hey guys, I'm a flat earther living in 2024. I believe in theories that came from the year 640 BC because I'm too fucking stupid to understand gravity. So I'm gonna steal Archimedes and everything is buoyancy and everything is medium. It's some retardation like that, basically.
So you can't steal man our position.
I literally just did it.
So you
literally just did it. You also don't know the definition of the word literally because you're literally retarded.
Just fucking I'm retarded, right? That's what a flat earther is. It's the retarded. Yeah, thank you.
You can't even steel man our position. We know your position better than you do, but you don't know
I know your
position.
position. Your position is buoyancy. Your position is buoyancy. Your position is displacement. But the funny thing is, buoyancy is gravity. Displacement is gravity. Weight is gravity.
Dude, we did this last. We already did this 2 nights ago.
We already killed you with this.
We already killed you on this.
That's fine. Let's talk about.
Can't you just concede that one thing?
Hold on.
Can't you just concede? No. If you were
I'm not going to concede to a flat earther. You're dumb. Shut up.
We're not talking about the shape of the Earth. We're conceding density.
Oh my god, fucking stupid fucking moron. I'm not gonna
you concede to up your ass and you're calling
I'm not gonna concede anything. You're dumb. It's not my problem that you don't understand something.
No, you're the one who doesn't understand.
You're asking me to concede 1 + 1 = 3. No, I'm not gonna fucking do that. It's
not what we're doing.
It's not my problem that you're dumb and you don't understand anything.
Timothy, you're a sodomite, and you're really fucking stupid.
What does, dude? Hold on. Sovereign Soul brought up Mickelson Morley. He was watching a video.
Nobody brought up Mickelson Morley except
you were watching a video of a guy talking about
No, wait a minute. When did I ever bring up Mickelson Morley?
In your video, you were reacting to a video that was talking about it.
So how is that me bringing up Mickelson Morley?
Because you showed it to your audience.
On someone else's video, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And it was a talking point of one of the people in the debate. How does that make me responsible for anything that was said about it?
I'm not saying you're responsible for what he's saying. I'm just saying you brought it up.
No, I didn't.
But you brought it up.
No, I didn't. Actually.
Did you not show a video talking about it?
Actually, it was a guy. I think it was Alan. Yeah, it was Alan that brought it up, not me.
Dude, that guy had a misunderstanding, like the biggest misunderstanding I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
That's what you say, anyways.
Holy
jump
man.
around and dish
Holy
shit.
It's freaking insane.
You don't know how east west navigation takes
Bro,
place?
I don't do navigation.
All right, well, you don't. So you don't know how to go east or west?
I don't do navigation. What does that mean?
What does that mean? I don't do navigation. You don't know.
Dude, we don't do navigation either.
Well, the only thing I do know is that
hey, genius.
If you determine true vertical, right? Anyone
that has
on Earth,
nothing to do with it.
If you determine true vertical anywhere on Earth, you would find that you will always form a spherical triangle. You never form a linear.
Consider this, Timothy. Consider this
triangle. You
if you boil spaghetti and you don't boil it enough, it has a little bit of starchiness to it.
What the?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What the fuck does what you're saying have to do with shit?
No, because
that's where my brain went when you started
I'll
talking.
Explain.
Right
he brought up.
What
he
in the
brought
fuck
up,
are you talking about? We're
talking about.
We're talking about gravity. Your gravity.
Hold on. I'll explain. If I put a stick somewhere, and if I put a stick in New York, and I put a stick in Chicago, and I put a stick in Los Angeles, according to the flat earthers, I will produce a linear triangle, right? But what we find is that we actually produce a spherical triangle, which is basically a triangle that has greater than that spherical triangle is a triangle with greater than 180
Wait. Hold on. I got this.
Demonstrates
Cash.
we live in a fucking
Let me grab this
sphere.
one. All right. So listen. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. What is a triangle? What does the word angle mean? Is an angle an arc? An angle is not an arc. So if I put,
you didn't even let me finish. You cut me off.
You're talking.
You need to mute Timothy while we respond.
Oh my God! You didn't even let me finish. You guys just cut me off.
Okay, so wait a second.
Because what you were saying is nonsensical.
There are no arcs in a fucking triangle. A triangle means 3 angles. An angle is a line. You're suggesting a tri-arc. That's not a triangle. Okay, that's something else. That's a fucking spline or some shit. Okay, that's not a triangle. So there's no such thing.
So Sav, he's trying to describe what they call a spherical triangle, where on a sphere you can make 3 right angles and return to where you started. Instead of a square, you can return to where you started with a triangle. It's completely theoretical. Nobody's ever actually done it in reality. It's hypothetical, theoretical. On a sphere, you can return to the same place after making 2 turns. Yes, but you didn't even explain it right, Timothy. Your AI programming isn't even smart enough to explain your own arguments.
No, we've done it. We've already.
Who's we? When did you do it?
Huh?
When did you do it? You said we. That indicates that you're part of a group,
Timothy,
or you're one of the individuals that's done it. You've done it yourself. You've actually navigated.
Yeah.
Okay?
He would have
what
to
I'm trying to say
he would
is
have to travel
there's something called the geodesic.
All you did was take a square
Do you,
and turn it
uh-huh.
into a fucking weird circle. It's
Do,
still going to
do you want
be
me
a
to
360-degree hookup, man. I don't
do you
care
want me
how
to
you fucking hook it together.
listen, buddy? You literally said spherical triangles don't exist, and
That's right.
your other flat Earth buddy, literally corrected you because you're freaking
No,
stupid.
no.
And
What is a
listen.
triangle? Does a triangle have an arc in it?
Oh my God,
Spherical triangle is like
bro,
saying dehydrated water. Okay.
bro, your flat Earth buddy literally
No.
corrected you.
No,
No,
I
literally
corrected you,
he
Timothy. No,
humiliated you.
Timothy.
Dude.
He
No, I
humiliated
humiliated
me.
you, Timothy. You're
He
the one who
humiliated
doesn't
me.
even understand what you're
He
trying to
literally
describe.
debunked you.
Timothy,
let me ask you, Timothy,
Can
is
you
there
please
such
mute
thing
him?
as a circular square?
Oh
Is
my
there
God,
such thing as a circular square?
You're so stupid.
You're
Timothy-
fucking the whole word spherical triangle is an oxymoron.
Your friend here literally corrected you.
Okay, so let me
Debunked you.
explain. Let me
You
explain it to
moron.
both of you. Let me explain it
Moron.
to everybody. On a sphere of the size of the allegedly the size of the Earth, right? You would be able to travel in a straight line for 1,000 miles, make a 90-degree turn, travel another 1,000 miles, make a second 90-degree turn, travel another 1,000 miles, and return to the same place. You'd make a triangle with 90-degree angles because you're on the surface of a sphere, but that's completely theoretical.
That's not
People
how triangles work.
no
Triangles aren't.
shit, no shit.
No. You're not
We're
listening.
talking about spherical
You
triangles
said that. You said triangles are what? Made up of 90-degree angles? Oh
on the
my
sphere.
God.
On the
Oh my
sphere, it
God.
is
My
a
brain.
spherical
My
triangle,
brain.
dumbass. No, we're not talking about triangles. We're talking about your spherical triangle. You don't even understand the thing you're trying to use as an argument.
No, you
Like, you're
literally
pathetic.
said. You literally
You're
said a
pathetic.
triangle. You said a triangle
No, I
has
didn't. We
greater
all
than
know a
90
triangle.
degrees.
No, we all actually you believe that since you believe Polaris never moves. You
No,
believe
okay,
that
I'll tell you what a
triangles have
spherical
parallel sides.
triangle is, all right? Since you
You
guys don't
you
know,
don't know
since
what
you
it
guys
is.
don't,
I
I'll
just
tell you
explained
what
it.
it is, right?
Well, I
So
saw a circular
it has.
I saw a circular rectangle the other day,
Do
and
you
I
do you
got
want me
to
to
thinking about this very
explain, or
thing.
are
You
you
know,
gonna cut me off
I
again?
was drinking a glass of
Nobody cares.
dehydrated water
Literally,
while I
nobody
was
cares.
looking at this spherical rectangle
Nobody
that I
cares.
saw.
It's
And
not.
I
It's
wondered
not my problem.
if I was not looking at a spherical rectangle, would my dehydrated water taste better?
It's not my problem that
You
you're
understand
ignorant.
the fucking mumbo jumbo nonsense that you're fucking spouting right now?
It's not my problem that you're ignorant. Okay.
Why do you sound like
let me
Stewie
let me
Griffin?
let me
It's
educate you.
ridiculous.
Let me
No, it's shit. Oh my
let,
God, yes, it's Stewie.
let me educate you, okay? Since you don't know
Oh,
anything,
let
all
me
right?
educate you. Fuck off.
Let me educate you.
You
I'm
ain't
gonna
educating
All
no.
educate you.
You need to educate your fucking self,
A
brother.
spherical triangle is
You need to
exactly like a
educate
planar
yourself, bud.
triangle.
That's what
It
you
has
need to
three
do.
sides. It has angles that are greater than 180 and less than 540 degrees. Okay? They obey the same trigonometric relationships compared to planar triangles. So they are exactly the same, except they just have different angles. And yes, we have measured the spherical triangles on Earth. It's called geodetic surveying.
No.
Okay, I know that's something you don't understand. Also, in celestial navigation, there's something called triangulation. Oh,
Yeah.
what is that, guys?
That's
Using
three
straight
fucking
lines.
lines,
In
three
celestial
angles, you
Lines that
dipshit.
form a
in
triangle.
celestial navigation, we can literally create spherical
I
spherical
know. I got a
triangles.
glass of dehydrated water right over here.
And also we also have GPS, we also have geodetic
Yeah, I know. So
surveying.
what?
So then why are you saying we haven't measured? We have measured.
No,
And
you've
we've done it
calculated.
multiple
No,
times.
you haven't measured. You calculated.
No, we measured.
No,
We
you
measured.
you calculated. How the fuck are you measuring a distance across a vast part of water?
We've measured it.
How do you
We've
measure that?
literally
How
did
did
it.
you measure it? And how did you measure it? Are you part of we? How is it measured across the water?
Okay, I told you it's about true vertical. Do you know what a true vertical is?
Is it a calculation or is it an actual physical measurement?
Physical measurement.
It's
an
a physical
actual
measurement. How do you
it's an
physically
actual
measure
physical
a
measurement.
distance across a vast amount of water?
I
He
just
took
told
out
you,
he
man.
he took out his
No,
tape
you didn't.
measure.
No,
Yeah, he
you
took out
didn't.
his tape measure. He
You
went
told
across
me
the
you
ocean.
measured it, and I said no, you
Yes.
didn't. You calculated it based on observations of the sky.
No.
No, then why do we have nautical miles and statute miles?
I'm trying to explain, but you guys keep
No,
cutting
you're
me off
not.
here.
You're not explaining anything.
Bro, these guys aren't
How do
willing
you
to learn.
measure? What did you have? A big tape measure or a
I
rope
just
that went all
told
the way
you,
across the
I just
Pacific?
told you, it's true vertical. The true vertical. When you determine true vertical from three distinct locations,
It's going to be 90
you can
degrees from level.
use the true vertical.
It's
And
going to
what
be
you'll find.
90 degrees
Hold
from
on.
Hey,
Hold on.
Timothy, can you
Hold on.
define true vertical before you move on? Just define what that means, true
Oh
vertical.
my God. Do I have to educate everything? Oh my
Yeah,
Lord.
define what true
Okay.
vertical means.
True
Educate.
vertical,
We're
right?
just wanting to know what your
true-
fried egg bullshit is. That's
True
all.
vertical refers to the direction perpendicular to the surface of the earth, right?
Okay,
Pointing directly
okay.
towards the center of the earth.
Well, how do you be
So
perpendicular to
it's
something that has no sides?
oh my God, my
How
brain,
can
my
you be
brain,
perpendicular
my
to anything that
brain,
has no sides? That's bullshit.
bro, shush.
How can you be perpendicular to a
Oh my
sphere?
God. Oh
How
my
can you
God.
be perpendicular to a sphere?
What would true vertical have to do with measuring distance over water?
I'm trying to get there,
Your
but you guys are just fucking
your
just brain
AI
dead.
is glitching, dude. You haven't gotten
Dude, you guys
anywhere. You're not
keep
making any
interrupting. You guys
sense.
keep interrupting.
No, dude.
I don't have any time to talk. It's just like constant interruption. It's
You've
really
talked
annoying.
more than anyone since you've joined the live stream.
Oh my God.
And you've
Oh
said
my
nothing.
God.
And you've said nothing. You've tried to explain
Dude,
how
you
a
suck at
triangle
this.
would work on the surface of a sphere, but you
Everyone
didn't
who's
even explain it
watching,
correctly.
can
Is laughing at
Just
you.
laughing at
all
you,
you
man.
need to do is
They're
watch the last 10
read
minutes.
the room, bro. Are you paying attention to the chat?
Watch the last 5 minutes. These guys have been constantly interrupting. They ask me a question, I try to respond, and 2 seconds in they go. It's like, dude, what kind? Is this a conversation or is this like some a bunch of retardation?
You never
Honestly.
stopped talking. The very first question I asked you about circumnavigation, you couldn't even answer it.
Oh, dude, I literally told you I don't do circumnavigation, dude. Are you
What is that?
dumb? Are
What
you
does that mean?
stupid?
What does that mean you don't do it? You
Dude,
don't
I
need
don't
to
have,
do it
dude.
to understand how it works. You
I-
don't have to do it
we're
to
talking.
understand how
You
it
asked
works.
me about vertical lines.
I did not ask
True
you about
vertical.
vertical line, and
You
I asked
asked
you
me. You
to
asked me
set
about
you
true
up.
vertical, and now
And
you're
what does true vertical?
completely changing the topic
What does
and
true
asking me a
vertical? What does
completely
true
different
vertical? Shut the
question.
fuck up, sodomite. What the fuck does true vertical have to do
Okay,
with
you know
measuring
what? I don't have
horizontal
time to be
distances on Earth?
disrespected like this,
But
man.
you're a
This is like
sodomite, dude.
you're sovereign
Yeah,
soul,
but that
dude.
don't have nothing
Come
to
on.
do with it, Cash. Come on, man.
Stop disrespecting me. It's
Bro, you're
disgusting.
below me. You don't deserve respect.
Whoa.
You're barely a human being, dude.
I mean, is this the kind of friends you have, Sovereign Soul? Like, come on, man.
I have all different kinds of friends and shit. I do.
How
I
do you
have
tolerate
friends.
this kind of
I'll tell you
behavior?
what. Listen,
What does
all manner of
true
friends.
vertical have to do with measuring horizontal distances
In
across
fact, I
Earth?
could probably be your friend if you weren't such a condescending fucking retard.
If you were my friend, man, you wouldn't be a flat earther.
You want to bet?
Timothy, you don't have any friends. That's why you're
wait a minute. So that's very interesting that you say that, because it's not about any real proof. It's about belief. And you think that if I were your friend, that you could somehow make me believe that my senses are all wrong and everything that I observe is all wrong. It's the opposite of everything that I experience. That's what you could do.
If you were Timothy's friend, he would be gaslighting you.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
not a friend, bro. That's not a friend.
What do you mean?
That's not a friend. A friend that wants to brainwash you into believing nonsense, that's not a friend.
Okay.
He has no friends. That's why he's in a flat Earth.
That's why he's
live
here.
stream.
That's why he's here.
You're hanging out with people who despise you. That's not
No,
normal.
look,
That's not normal.
Are you saying that are you saying I'm the first Globe Earther guest on here?
No,
but you're all equally pathetic.
Okay.
But you won't listen. You won't answer the most simple, basic. Listen, if you're going to talk to people,
you can't answer my. You can't even let me respond.
Wait a second. If you're going to talk, wait a second. Let me ask you one of the most basic questions to Steelman for the as to see if how you know
Wow, we are
how
jumping
much you
from
know
one
about
topic to the
flat
next.
Earth, right?
He knows nothing about the
Okay.
flat Earth.
We
theory.
are
So
jumping
this
from
should be
one
very
thing to the next.
simple. Do
Ali.
you agree that if you're going to engage in an argument with someone or a debate, that you should at least have some knowledge of their position? I mean, I know
Wait, what
about
did you
your
say?
position. I know about your position. So why do
Oh,
you
really?
not
You know
be able
about
to answer
you know about True Vertical then, right?
true
Do you know about True
vertical?
Vertical?
Yeah,
Do you know
Why
how
do
to?
you say that as if it's something complicated? True
No,
vertical.
like,
It's true
do you know
vertical.
anything
I
about?
do. I
Do you
know
know
exactly
anything
what
about?
I
Do you know
do.
anything about
In the
a theodolite?
construction,
Do you know what a theodolite is?
in the construction business, we call that plumb, and it's perpendicular to level, which does not incorporate
No, it's
any
not
kind of a
perpendicular to
curve.
level. You fucking
Don't
stupid
tell me no. That's not
moron.
no. Plumb is vertical. Level is
I never
horizontal.
mentioned plum.
That's
I never
all.
mentioned plum.
That's all. Okay.
No, it isn't.
Now
This is what I'm
we're
talking
going.
about. This is
No,
like
you're not. We're
this
not
guy.
going
This guy is
to
a grown
listen
ass
to me.
man.
Listen to
This
me.
guy is a
First
grown
off,
ass man with
we're
a
not
with a
going
baby
to
with a
go
brain of a
any
baby.
further, Timmy. We're not going to go any further until you answer the initial.
You don't even know what a
question
true vertical is, bro.
to you.
What
When
does
you
true
said
vertical have to
has
do with
nothing to do
measuring
with you.
horizontal
Because we
distances?
can use true vertical and we can actually construct spherical triangles, which means
Well,
what?
great.
If
You're
I
How
what
construct a
you're
spherical
saying is
triangle,
that's actually word salad, my
if I
friend.
create a triangle,
Steelman, east-west navigation on a flat Earth. It's real simple. If you have any knowledge of the model, then you should be able
dude,
to
I've
answer
already
this
said this like a
question.
million times. I don't
He
do that.
doesn't do
I
I
navigation.
don't fucking do
All right.
that.
Well, you're not
fucking
doing
do
yourself any
navigation.
favors because we've had the poll up now for a
Because you're
couple of
stupid.
minutes
You're
here.
dumb. You're scared. You're scared.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
Hey
Nobody,
Tim.
frightened.
Hey
no
You're
Timmy.
one's
all
Hey little
frightened.
Timmy. Hey little Timmy. East
Yeah.
and west works the same on the flat Earth as it does on a globe. You
No, it
fucking
doesn't.
retard.
I know
It
it
Yes,
works
it
doesn't.
does.
I
exactly
know
the
it
same.
doesn't.
It
I know
works
it
Exactly.
doesn't.
exactly the
It
same. You
doesn't.
fucking retard. No, it
It
literally
doesn't.
does. It
It
literally
doesn't.
does. You're
It
just a
doesn't.
fucking retard.
It doesn't. It
Yeah.
really doesn't.
It
It really
really
doesn't.
does. You're going
It
in a
really doesn't.
circular path around.
All right.
the
That's
North
all
Pole.
I need. That's all I need right there. So good night, Timmy.
You see what I mean? These
Good night,
people
Timmy.
can't even steel man basic flat Earth arguments that have been around for nearly.
No.
I mean, been around on YouTube for 9 years, but they've been around the world for hundreds of years, and they still can't steel man them.
Nope. He would have gone. He was like, it's an easy fucking question. It's the easiest.
It's literally
question
the
there is.
easiest. It's the easy. That's why I asked it. It was easier than gravity because it's not even like you don't even have to bring in electromagnetism or any kind of like theories. It's just how it is. It's just literally how a compass works. Did I lose?
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
here he is.
yeah. So everybody said thanks for the boot. We had 71% said to get his fucking ass out of here. I didn't want to have to deal with him anymore. Fuck him.
The guy literally sounds like Stewie Griffin. And when he was talking about true vertical, literally that had nothing to do with anything. He was literally spitting out word salad.
What the fuck is vertical on a goddamn sphere, anyways?
Right. Right. Vertical would, if you're going to be perpendicular to horizontal, how do you even have that on a sphere?
Right. Horizontal is what? Just a tangent point on a sphere, right? It's just a point. I mean, what do you got? Are we like faceted? Is the Earth a fucking dodecahedron or some shit?
Right. So if a tangent line is going to cross the surface of a sphere in a singular point, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you're building, and then last night, Connor said that we don't build any structures large enough to have to account for the curvature of the Earth. Okay. But what about like a giant warehouse or a Walmart supercenter where they're pouring large concrete slabs? How can the whole slab be level, right, by their definition of the word level? How can it be flat and level at the same time?
Listen, man, the truck and bus plant that my dad worked in, my dad was a tool and die maker at General Motors Truck and Bus in Pontiac, Michigan. And that fucking place was gargantuan. I mean, this place was huge. They had little golf carts and bicycles to get around from one department to another. It was
So
huge.
let's say that slab that was on, right?
Mhm.
It was parallel with a tangent line in the center of the slab.
Right.
Okay. But what if you were on the edges of it? What if you were towards the edges of the building? Are you going to start feeling a little crooked because you're getting pulled down in a direction that wouldn't be directly towards the center of the globe? You would feel a little off kilter. You can't have, like, they want flat and level at the same time, even though they can't have it both ways. Like we water would have to conform to the sphere at a uniform rate, right? Water wouldn't have a choice. Like land has contours and hills and valleys and mountains, but water would just have to.
Aaron.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I know. Listen, man, that guy, fuck. This whole argument is stupid. You've got to be mentally deranged to think that shit. You know, I'm sitting here going, what the fuck is vertical on a ball?
And I know I know what he was trying to say about the spherical triangle, because that is one of the that was an argument used in the top 10 proofs the Earth is a globe series. But it's theoretical. Yeah. It's like how you would draw a triangle on a baseball. Like the lines of the triangle would end up curved because the surface of the baseball is curved. So you wouldn't be able to actually draw a straight line across the surface of a baseball. So that's what he's talking about, but it's only theoretical. We've never actually traveled that way in reality. We've never actually measured it in reality. It's literally just a hypothetical. If the Earth was a sphere, then you could travel this way. But they don't actually do it.
Right. Look, Holodonkey says, do we know how deep our flat Earth is? What's more important, though, Holodonkey, is how deep is your love, your love? How deep is your love? Right? That's what we want to focus on.
See, flat earthers don't attempt to answer questions that can't be answered, right? So we know that the deepest hole ever dug, ever drilled, is only about 8 kilometers into the Earth. So how would we know what's below that if we've never been deeper than that? We can't answer questions that can't be answered, but you're used to getting answers from the science priests. They always have an answer for everything, no matter how ridiculous. They'll give you an answer, and you love that. You love when they give you answers. They can't handle. We don't know. It's beyond our capability of knowing, and that's honest. To say you don't know or you it's impossible to know. That's called being intellectually honest.
It is. I mean, it's. And they just tell you something. It's like, oh, these scientists right off the bat, boom, 4 out of 5 doctors say, experts agree. Okay. Scientists say that the sun is a big mass of hydrogen that collected together and became so heavy from its own gravity that it collapsed in on itself and is causing nuclear fusion. And I'm like the kid going, whoa, wait a second. How'd you get a ball of gas to fucking form up, man?
How would they even know that from 93 million miles away? How are they gonna tell us what the core of Venus is made out of? You know what I mean? They don't even know what the mantle of Earth is made out of.
It's so dumb. And it's like, but we accept it because it's that same old sales pitch, right? Doctors recommend Tareyton cigarettes, you know? I mean, come on. That sold it. Doctors agree. Shit. That's an elevated status that I've been trained.
Right. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this fluoride toothpaste.
Yes. And it's no different. Leading experts agree. And you look how many damn articles and things like that come out with. And it's like, well, which experts are you talking about, man? You know, can you give me some fucking names? No, we don't even bother with that because we just are so trusting, and we're trained to be so trusting, especially in the accolades of academia. I mean, that's a real big deal. This PhD Tony, his fucking degree is his entire existence. That's the sum of his entire who he is.
Right. Yeah, that's his identity. So if you're
Right.
going to tell him, you're going to tell him that he learned a bunch of nonsense.
Right. You took away his smart.
You took away his identity.
Yes. It's like, look at what happened with the Scarecrow, right? He was a dumbass until he got that piece of paper, and then all of a sudden now he's smart, right? Or at least he thinks he is. That's
Right,
all
because
it is.
the wizard had no actual power, and the piece of paper didn't actually mean a damn thing.
Right. It was already in there. Okay. So by him equating it to this and the accolades of academia, then that means that hey, you've been taught some shit, but you've obviously got enough brains to understand what we're talking about. So open up your mind. But in his world, that takes away his true identity, his absolute grip on who he is. I mean, even his name, he's going to call himself PhD Tony. I mean, wow.
That's literally his name, huh?
Yeah. They've got it as Tony on here, but that's usually what his screen name is. And I'm like, you're wrapped up in that fucking shit. No wonder you're never going to see nothing.
Right. And what does the D stand for, right?
Well, I think a PhD actually stands for piled high and deep. I mean, I know PhDs that are dumber than a bag of hammers. So there's that. A degree is only as good as the dumbest guy that's got one, man. That's it. Just like a high school diploma. This was my point when I quit school, right? As soon as I found out I could quit school, I did. And I never got a GED, never got a diploma, none of that bullshit. I learned shit by reading about it, by learning about it, by evaluating it, looking into it. And hell yeah, I even do some experimentation on stuff, All right. Nobody's ever asked me, they've asked me if I have a high school diploma, but they've never asked to see it. They don't care. They don't even check because everybody has one. And what's that do to it? That makes it only as good as the dumbest motherfucker that's got one. And they already know that. Now, it used to be there weren't everybody get a high school diploma. For instance, my grandfather, he graduated the 8th grade. That's as far as people went in school. That's it. But if you elected to, you could go on to higher education that was going to get you ready for college, or even that would be even enough to put you into some higher management positions and things like that, because it was higher education. Now, the difference was the level of of knowledge that was given to people back then versus now. When my grandfather's 8th grade final exam, I defy college students to pass it. I'm not fucking kidding you. It wasn't you wouldn't be giving that to 8th graders today, what we deem as an 8th grade education. 8th grade education in those days actually superseded a fucking high school education now. So all he did was stretch it out and not teach as much, keeping the people dumbed down while making them think that they've learned everything they need to. That's like Tony. He went and he got this thing. That's the top thing he can get. And so therefore, he's learned everything he needs to know. And how dare you come with something that contradicts his learning? Right?
That's exactly it.
Yeah, it puts it in a freaking...
Because how much do you think he spent for that indoctrination? You know what I mean?
Probably still paying it. I guarantee he's still paying it.
So how could you then accept that you were lied to and you paid $100,000 to be indoctrinated? It's the cognitive dissonance is too great for them to overcome. It is literally their education, their so-called education is their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Where like people like you and me and other prominent flat earthers, it's just not our identity. It's just like almost like a hobby. Like we're just curious minds. We research a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the earth was a globe or flat, we didn't have an emotional attachment either way. We're just looking for the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean it's when it becomes so evident that something this big, a lie that big, I mean that's really something else. Think about that. To get damn near the entire human race to believe such a silly nonsense thing, and so deeply believe it that they'll get angry and fight to keep hold of that ridiculous idea. How do you do that? I mean, it's brilliant, and I think it comes beyond the actual will of men. I really do. I think that the men behind it are nothing more than minions of another source.
Oh, well, when you're talking about a multi-generational lie,
yeah,
lies and the New World Order, their plots, go beyond generations. So it's obviously something beyond human. It is, in my opinion, it is Satan. It couldn't be anybody else.
You know how these guys always want to stay in bloodlines?
Mm-hmm.
The elite marry the elite.
Sure.
They're all interrelated.
Yeah, they're all inbred.
And I think there's a genetic compatibility to be able to take over or have that person be a host for entities. And this is why I think this is really crazy, because they're real specific about that. They look down and disown their own if they marry outside of the social realm and that kind of thing, right? But if you think, why would somebody go out and put their life into working diligently and hard for some ideal that he's never going to see the fruits of this labor?
I think about that all the time, dude.
So I think that they like pass along from host to host, in time as related to them doesn't mean as much as it does to us. We have shorter existence and that's it. Mm-hmm. They just move on from host to host to host and eventually have their plan worked out to, carry it out. Like, that movie or that TV show Stargate?
No, I'm not familiar.
Oh man. Well, on that show, what it was is it was exactly that. There he is. It was exactly that, man. It was this alien entity. In this case, it was a physical entity that would go inside of a human host of its choosing, and it would actually take over that host. And that host would be just like all the rest of the people and everything, but he would have abilities and powers, and he was ruling over these people. They called him the Goa'uld. And there would come a time when the host was about to either die or had been wounded to the point where they're going to die or something like that. They'd have this ritual to move the symbiote to a new host and have to have this little ritual and everything like that. And I was looking at that going, man, that's probably truth in plain sight, man, right there. And so this thing had lived for, and when the host that it's in gets old, they have the same ceremony and the symbiote goes into a new host, and that's it, the succession of the line, right? So, I don't know, pretty cool idea, but
it is pretty crazy how they are so dedicated to something that they'll never see. Like Jacob Rothschild just passed away, and he's not going to be able to see everything he's worked for his entire life.
You reckon that bird needed an extra long coffin to accommodate that head? A cone head motherfucker for real, man. Man. No, I'm glad. You know what? I think it's best that he is gone. But like I said, is he really? Who did that gauntlet be passed down to?
Yeah. No, the plans don't die. The plans move forward. It's bigger than man. It's beyond human. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree 100%, man. There's more at play, and there's where that scripture comes in. We fight not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities.
That's that. Yeah, 100.
Yep. So there's truth to that. Let's see if we can get through just a little bit more of this here. This is good. I like breaking this up because this Tony guy is hard to take. I really can't stand the condescending thing that he does.
So what? You were watching a debate and breaking it down?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
this guy, who is this guy, Toby, who talks super fast?
This guy here, I know, man. Put him and Witsit together and boom, 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 and you'd go crazy.
You would have to watch it at like 50% speed.
I know, man. I do that with Witsit sometimes. He's got better. He's learned to slow down a little bit. But yeah,
I think he does that because he's always having to repeat himself.
Yeah.
So then he just says it really fast because he said it a million freaking times. Like, I get it. It's frustrating.
Yep. I've done that myself. You know, where you just get so used to rattling it off, you know, and it's like, God damn, I've already swatted about 50 of you away this week. Here we go again.
Man, that was amazing, though, that Timothy guy could not steal, man, circumnavigation on the flat earth, even though it literally works exactly the same way as the globe.
So the poll, we're going to end it here, was 65% of the people said to get rid of his dumb ass. So we did. He's history. That was 55 votes.
And he's British, right?
I would assume or I don't know if that was an affected accent or if it was true or even if it was a synthesized voice.
The whole thing doesn't make sense. So you're telling me some gay dude in Britain is in a flat earth live stream at 5 a.m,
right,
with a bunch of people who despise him.
Yep.
And he's not capable of explaining east or west circumnavigation.
I mean, that would be the easiest one. And it's like, yeah, it's just a big circle, you know, around the globe. That's all. Or around the flat earth. It doesn't, you know.
Because that's what's interesting is most globers, most normal people, because they don't ever really think about it, they think east and west are straight lines.
Yeah. How would that even work?
They think because they see the X on a map that's got north, south, east, west, and they just kind of assume that directions are like a coordinate plane. They're all straight lines. But even on a globe, east and west are circles around the pole. The only place on a globe that you would feel that you were traveling in a straight line as you were going east or west is on the equator. Anywhere else, you'd be making a curve around the pole.
Right.
So it's really no different than the flat earth.
Timmy's people were suspected that Timmy was Indian. He says he's not. He says he's not Indian, so he probably is because that dude just lies.
I'm not Indian. Well, he sounded like Stewie Griffin. He claimed to be a Jew 2 nights ago, and he talks with a British accent.
Right.
So
I don't know. I think he's a bot.
I don't really know. I'm not really. I don't know how powerful these, bot technology is, but that guy
Greg says when he went into his mocking tone, the Indian accent came out. I live with 3 Indians currently, so I hear it constantly. Some accents are more American than others. Yeah, right on, bro.
That does make sense. Yeah, that he would be Indian.
Yeah, I don't know about this guy, man. Anyway, he's entertaining to a point, and then that's all. Outside of that, it's no. Timmy is from Ohio. How would you know that, Holla Donkey? Come on, bro. You know better than that shit. All right, let's go into this a little more.
Seems
can I have a minute
willfully
to respond?
deceptive.
He's calling me deceptive. Can I maybe respond, James?
Yeah. My name's Ryan.
I'd like to have a
I know it
good
says
minute without interruption, if possible.
Yeah, you get a minute on the floor.
Okay, great. So I love that you brought this up, right? Because this to me is
watch Tony. All he has now, because he can't talk for a minute, is exasperated incredulity and overly exaggerated. Watch
everything. This is I can go into the ether wind now because that's what this is all about. The interferometry measures a correlation with the sun and the moon. That's the motion of the sun and the moon, and it varies by like 30%. So the rotation of the Earth is not getting faster and slower by 30% as the year changes. That's crazy. And and the Earth isn't rotating faster when you go higher at altitude. That's crazy. And what do you know? Interferometers, the measurements that interferometers make correlate with the same measurements that the pendulum makes. And you're going to try and invoke the fact that the pendulum rotates precisely in line with the rotation of the Earth. But if you actually go and look at specific experiments, you'll find that quite frequently it does not actually align with perfectly with the rotation of the Earth, and they have to make adjustments. And a lot of these museums that have Foucault pendulums actually have electromagnetic systems in place to keep the motor in place to keep things processing at the proper rate, because they don't want someone to come into the museum and suddenly, oh, why is the Earth's not rotating today? That's crazy, because they literally don't work as expected.
Okay, so what you're claiming is that Elias faked his results because he noted deflections from the precession, from the rotation predicted precession. That's
precession of what? That's what's in question. You assume that it's a precession of the Earth, but we found that it's absolutely not. It matches. In fact, why was it affected during eclipses and shit? What was going on there, man?
his entire result. So if you're claiming that that's faked, then you're saying that Elias faked his results and then noticed a deflection away from his faked results. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Also this claim about the Sagnac effect. You understand that the Sagnac effect is not restricted to lasers, right? The Sagnac effect can be detected in matter waves. So they can get a cloud of a super cool cesium in a boson-Stein condensate, propagate it both ways around the circuit, and look at the interference. So you're aware of that research, are you?
It's in neutrinos too. Yes, we are.
Yeah, Ruyang Wang did an experiment with it in 2006, or no, that was matter wave interferometers was 2012, I think. But yeah, Ruyang Wang did an experiment with it and found that it was the exact same thing.
And electrons.
He even
okay,
proposed a linear
how does
motion
ether?
detector
Just one
with
second
it.
there, Tony. We're doing time, so
Okay.
he's got 45 seconds left, unless he wants to see.
How does ether affect the how does ether affect Schrodinger's equation?
So that was a really random question.
No, because matter
okay,
wave interferometers rely on the propagation of Schrodinger's wave for a boson-Stein condensate. That's how the interferometry is measured. So if you're saying that this is due to ether wind rather than, for instance, Earth's rotation and motion, then you're saying that the ether is having an effect on Schrodinger's equations. What is that effect? How did you demonstrate that? And how is it quantified?
So the fringe displacement that's measured in the matter interferometry, neutrino interferometry, electron interferometry, regular electromagnetic interferometry, right, is all in regards to the ether wind relative to the latitude. So how they're describing quote unquote Earth rotation, right? It's the ether wind relative to the latitude.
That wasn't my question. My question is, how does ether wave affect Schrodinger's equation?
It's a wave equation, my dude.
Schrodinger's equation got ripped up by the cat. All right, I'm just gonna put that out there for y'all. I was wondering, y'all reckon that there's a Mrs. PhD, Tony? I mean, I can't see it. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, usually you can figure out what kind of a spouse somebody might have, just in your mind. Not saying that that's what they have, but I'm trying to think about.
No, dude, that guy's a virgin. I'm truly trying to picture that. It would be like, it wouldn't be long before I couldn't deal with that voice.
That guy's got goats. He raises goats.
That guy's got like prisoners in a dungeon.
Well, one of y'all said he's got goats. I wonder how many of those goats are stump trained, just asking for a friend. Anyway, we let this play. I had to get up and get my dog's water. You might have heard my dog back here clunking the dish. And so I'm filling up the reservoir for it right now. And so that's where I had to go. I don't know why I found it necessary to tell you that. Maybe, I mean, I do leave my friend something along with you, to keep you company while I'm not here. But all right, sounds like it's full. Oh, there it is.
Yes. So what? Show me where in Schrodinger's equation the ether is included.
Schrodinger's equations are based off of Maxwell's electromagnetic theory, which is based off of the ether anyway. So you're
that's not
so
true.
yeah, it's 100% true.
No, it isn't.
It's 100% true, and by invoking it, you're
no, it isn't
doing anything. Okay.
I mean, if
well,
I
you
can
can
jump
just
in on this topic for a moment, because I want to actually, this is one thing I wanted to talk about, because I noticed that both Toby in this debate here, you mentioned Michelson mold and interferometry, and I saw a little bit of your last debate, maybe not your last debate, but one of your previous debates, Alan, and you mentioned it too. So it sounds like you both are saying that the Michelson mold experiment was to show that the Earth is not moving. Is that correct?
So they were trying to measure the motion of the Earth, right? So if they were, the title of the paper
literally let me actually take this.
Holy fucking God, are you still here? Your mind should be closed if you've done experiments and predict repeatedly. Well, let's put that exact same standard to your Cavendish experiment, right? Are the results consistent? No. Well, sometimes they don't even work, right? Yeah. All right. So it's not a fucking proof of anything, dumbass.
A bit, Tony. I want to actually discuss this one with him a bit. But what was that?
Absolutely, brother. So the title of the paper is, let's see, it's on the relative motion of the Earth and the luminiferous ether, right?
And that's I can load it right now. But perhaps you can point out to us in the page, like where in it is it saying that they were measuring the motion of the Earth?
Okay, scroll. Okay,
are you able to see it?
Yeah,
Hold up.
let me screenshot.
Holy shit! You have to beg someone to consider the globe Earth, don't
dude.
you
I was just reading that same comment. Like you beg him, like it. That's such a weird way to phrase it.
With Tinkerbell can only exist if everyone believes. Children, all clap so the Tinkerbell can come back to existence.
Is there anything scientific about the Cavendish experiment?
No, it's not even an experiment. It's a fucking observation, man.
But like, so this autistic son of a rich guy got a couple iron balls to attract to each other in his barn.
Well, that's what he yeah.
And the earth itself didn't have any effect on these balls. What about the barn? It's like, how do you isolate such a thing? It's not even scientific. It's so unscientific. I have a hard time putting into words how to explain how stupid it is. Like it's allegedly to prove Newtonian mechanics, which has not even been the accepted theory in over 100 years.
No.
So how are they citing Cavendish to prove Einsteinian mechanics?
Newton didn't even bring up that shit. Somebody else postulated it on his behalf after he was dead. He didn't even think it was credible.
Oh, but he got really far away from the barn and he looked at the balls through his telescope.
Oh yeah, I know. And think about this. We're in the year 2024, supposedly, right?
Right.
And we're invoking 18th century crackpots looking at lead balls from his window with binoculars or some shit as proof of mass attracting mass. Holy God. That's the best you've got. That's
people still bring up the Cavendish experiment nearly every single time you argue gravity.
It's in there. I got a baking dish experiment, right? I'm going to set the heavy ass baking dish over here, and I'm going to put some noodles over here, and the noodles don't weigh as much. So I'm going to see if that baking dish will attract my noodles into the dish or not, and see how long that takes. I bet you the noodles will rot before that happens.
I want to respond to a comment I just read by Viru in the chat. It does seem like this guy Darryl is just here to fill some kind of like diversity quota. Like has he said a goddamn word the whole time? He's the Karine Jean-Pierre of this debate.
I'm going to change my name to Darryl.
Darryl.
He brings his I mean, when he does get to talk, he's not a dickhead like Tony.
No. He seems like a good guy.
Tony's whole thing is like yelling at you and shit and treating
Darryl
stupid. And
you could tell just by looking at him that Darryl is the black guy who was like not really into like basketball. Like he was more into like Legos and erector sets.
Yeah.
He was like the nerdy black guy.
Right.
He got picked. He got picked after the white kids.
He was like he ain't no Joe Cool, right?
Yo, Joe Cool was something else.
Yeah, he says Chicago Cubby Bear says he ain't no Joe Cool. No, I can imagine that other kids telling him, why you act so white, motherfucker, you know? Anyway.
Sure, I have it all highlighted. I can bring it up for you immediately.
Okay, go ahead.
Remember to warn a fellow before you screen share.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to screen share in about 2 seconds. Okay. 1, 2. All right.
And I'll also pull up while he's doing that. I can pull up Albert Einstein saying that that's why he devised special relativity.
All right. Is it on my Is it on my second monitor? Can you guys see it correctly?
We are seeing. We're good. We're seeing everything on there. There we go. The American Journal of Science.
All right. Here we go. All right. Here we go. So right here, they're giving their derivation for how they're going to measure the velocity of Earth. So we have v, little v, d, t, and t, right? So we got v for the velocity of light, v for the velocity of Earth. The two time differentials here, when they reduce the equations now, they have 2d over v squared, right? So the velocity of Earth over the velocity of light. That's how they're deriving their proportional relationship with the fringes. Now, when they get down here to what they actually measured, oops, 1 second. When they get down here to what they actually measured, they had a prediction of 5 fringes, which was going to correspond to 30 kilometers a second. They measured a little over 1 fringe, which corresponds to about 4 to 6 kilometers a second. Now, depending on who you ask, to get some fluctuations within that, but it's about 4 to 6 kilometers a second is the accepted value. So what we have here on this ending page here, page 5, they say that.
So one moment, because I want you to specifically because my friends, just look at that part right there. Yet you have in green. It says, and what proceeds only the orbital motion of the Earth is considered, and this is combined with the motion of the solar system, concerning which but little is known with certainty. The result will have been modified. So this is clearly saying that from their perspective, the Earth is moving, the solar system is moving, and they're measuring that with relation to something else. What you're saying is not matching what the paper is saying. It's right there. You could also go to, let's say, the last page. Go way to the end, all the way to the end. It says finally,
on Lorenz's notes.
Finally, there remains a determination of the velocity of light by observations of the eclipses of Jupiter satellites. If the improved photometric methods practiced at the Harvard Observatory makes it possible to observe these with sufficient accuracy, the difference in the results found for the velocity of light when Jupiter is nearest to and farthest from the line of motion will give not merely the motion of the solar system with reference to the stars, but with reference to the luminiferous ether itself. So clearly, their premise is that the Earth is moving and the solar system is moving, and they're measuring it in respect to an ether. So what you're saying is not matching. I want to look at something else, because one thing I'm noticing is for you to speak, it seems to me that how you're talking as if you understand this stuff. So let me ask you, would you go to page 336? You were talking about the equations, right there, a little bit farther. So on the line where it says neglecting terms of the fourth order, would you tell me what that means? What do they mean by that?
Exacting terms of the fourth order. Where are you at? Where do you see that at?
Your mouse is right there, a little bit higher. It says 2d v over v. A little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, right there.
Oh, okay.
Neglecting terms of the fourth order. What do they mean by that?
Neglecting terms of the fourth order. So not sure.
You don't know. So you have
Would
no
you-
idea what the hell you're talking about. You're talking
Would you
about
like
these
me to
equations as
answer?
if you know what you're talking about, but you don't.
You can answer. But
Let me ask you this. What
okay, hold on
order
one second.
experiment is
One
what?
second. So, Tony, you can go ahead and answer real quick. What is?
Okay,
What is
Hold up. I
what is
asked
the-
Tony. Tony, let me go ahead and have this. I don't want him to run away from this.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
You
not running,
don't
bro.
know what you're talking
I'm not
about.
Objectively,
running. I want
Tony's
the
you
got.
answer-
sit,
Yeah,
I
Tony
want the
can hold
answer
his
to the
thought. I'm
fourth order.
sure.
So-
You
so
know,
here-
he.
Sure. Yeah, because I let him have the whole seismic thing because I wanted to get this. You were sitting here earlier saying this is T, this is D, this is what they're measuring. You don't even know that is a simple mathematical understanding. That's the foundation of understanding these formulas. If you don't know that, clearly you have no idea what they're talking about. Let me ask you this: this experiment, what order experiment was it? What order
So
experiment is the Wilkinson Morley experiment?
They say that it's a second order experiment. It is actually a first order experiment because in 2004, the Sagnac effect was linearized. So the fact that this
Hold up. So that answers the question. That answers the question. I don't want you to run away. One moment, because this is what I found.
It's a first order experiment.
All right, let's let Darryl
So
clarify.
These fucking people in my chat are funny as hell, man. I see some of this shit come through here and I just chuckle, man. It's funny. Elite 333 says, I like that name, easy. If I meet a chick named Phoenix, I'm going for it, man. That's a cool name. There's no uncool people named Phoenix.
Tell me what that means.
What that means
Tell
is
me what that means.
You could find a direct proportional relationship to what's being measured.
I mean, I can tell you
Say
right
it
now,
again.
I don't care about the fourth order.
You can find a direct proportion. What does that mean as far as the equations?
it means-
what is it
okay.
that's happening in the equation?
Bet. So right here, the velocity component, right? This is what they're trying to measure, right? So that's the that's what they're measuring, bro.
You have no idea what you're talking about. What this is talking about is actually a Taylor expansion. And when you Taylor expand, every single order of the expansion has a different power on the exponent of the expansion. So they're neglecting everything above the third exponent of the third expansion of the Taylor expansion. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Bro,
Therefore,
listen.
you don't understand what this experiment is. So everything. Both Toby, did you understand that? Do you even know what that is, Toby? You mentioned it as well. Do you know how to do a Taylor expansion?
No, I don't need to understand the direct proportional relationship of the Sagnac
so you don't
effect of C
understand what
plus
you're
or
talking
minus
about either.
V.
No,
Darryl.
no, listen.
Just one
neither
second,
of
Darryl.
them have
You did ask him a
basic-
question,
Darryl,
Darryl.
you've been
so-
talking for a minute,
Okay.
bro, about how we don't
just
understand
one
what we're
second there,
talking
Alan.
about.
So
So
before
when you're
Toby,
done getting that off your chest, we
ju-
can proceed.
just one second, Alan. Before Toby loses his thought, over to you, Toby.
Fight,
Just have to
fight,
give the floor
fight,
to
fight.
Toby.
Oh,
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, it's just, I don't need to understand the fourth order stuff at all. I don't care about the fourth order stuff. I'm more concerned with first, second order, right? And especially in the case of understanding the motion, they're going to try and derive things out to fit it into an orbital motion, but that's not, like you're trying to say that because these guys have a desire to make this fit within their their heliocentric model, that means that I have to have that same desire in order to look at their first order and second order measurements. That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Please don't interrupt me. And then also just in general, right? Like you can
10
look at
seconds.
Ruyong Wang's math from 2004. Right now we're looking at a paper from 1887. So, if you want to pull up Ruyong Wang's 2004 generalized Sagnac effect, he does a really good job of going through the math in that paper. And he actually shows that it's directly proportional to the ratio of V plus or minus, C plus or minus V is directly proportional relationship. And what do you know? It's not just a rotational vector, it's a linear vector, which you guys still have not responded to. And I have a feeling that you're not going to provide
do
a
have to,
substantive response to that.
We do have to give them a chance to get in here because that would have been.
But yeah,
time there,
just the point being, I don't need to know what they're talking about with fourth order there in order to understand the first order Sagnac effect, C plus or minus V, and how that directly violates page 1 of special relativity.
Does anybody else not have a clue
Okay,
what they're
there
talking
are
about?
two things here. There are actually three things that I want to.
what's that?
I said, does anybody else besides me not have a clue what they're talking about?
I'm like, come on, man. This is a lot of fucking hoops to be jumping through to make you think you're fucking moving on the
Is
air.
this what is the ultimate, like, is this a flat earth debate?
It's supposed to be, but it's gone down into a goddamn dissection of interferometry.
You should never have to use this kind of science in a flat Earth versus globe Earth debate. You only need to use logic. You don't even need to use science.
Yeah. Well, in most cases, but I mean, even the science behind it points down to, and it's like myself, a few others out there, and I focus on this hard, man. And it's the pressure. It's this fucking air pressure. And that right there totally throws everything out. Gas behavior throws everything out.
Gas behavior, liquid behavior.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you can't have a ball of gas, okay, you can't, unless you have it in a container, and it's only going to be shaped like a ball if it's in a ball-shaped container.
Yeah,
that's it. As soon as the containment's gone, it dissipates, because that's how gas behavior works. It's never going to form together, and the little molecules have gravity or something and pull on each other and
now
somehow come together. That goes against the whole nature of gas in the first place. Gas is not bonded. Gas molecules are not bonded together.
Now you mentioned something, I think last night, how gases inside a container, as they start to they will start to separate, right, into a gradient.
Well, it's the dispersal rate. We have a higher concentration near the Earth because that's where the gases are produced. But through a thing called dissipation, it spreads out as it goes up. It's not like people act like 14.7 pounds per square inch of pressure is some great big deal. It's not. It's relatively low considering the entire size and, I would say, volume of the entire Earth system itself. And it's very, very little. It's not much different than when you have a flat tire, right? It's gone down and it's not really all the way flat, but it's still got air in it, right? Okay, that air is not under as much pressure, and yeah, given enough time, it will settle. It will settle. It's not going to fill up the flat part down here, but that gas will start to settle, and it's not being disturbed by temperature differentials. It will do that. It will separate.
But you were talking about gases in like a tank, right? When they're not stirred.
Right. And you got to look at it like this, though. These people suggest that this pressure gradient is like a fucking layer cake. Okay? It's not. It fluctuates slightly as you go, and it feathers down and feathers down and feathers down and feathers down. Okay? It's not like it's this here, and then you go to here, and it's this, and it's here, it's this.
Gotcha.
It's not how it goes. You go from here to here gradually, which is what gradient means.
Right.
It doesn't mean separated by lines. You can have a graduated cylinder, which is separated into lines, and it mean that. But gradient merely means you have a gradient of heat that comes from a fire. Okay,
right.
That gradient of heat, it's less the further away you are from it. It's the same reason, essentially, the dissipation of it. No other way. And I think what I'm really onto something. I really believe I'm onto something with this idea of induction, of an induction system between the Earth and the sun.
Makes sense. Like I used to work in a retail store, and we would sell induction stovetops. Now you could heat up a pan, a certain type of pan that was made out of the right metal. You could heat up that pan on the induction stovetop so that the pan would be hot. You can move that pan and then touch the induction stovetop with your hand, and there's no heat.
Yeah.
Because there is no heat. It was just, you would be able to explain it better than I could.
Well, here's the thing. right here, and how it works. Like on my burner, now, of course,
this is what I was talking about. Yup, an induction
yeah.
cooktop.
So the metal pan has to be like you can turn one of those on and put a ceramic casserole dish on there, and all day nothing will fucking happen.
Nothing heats up if you have the wrong pan.
Right. Nothing's gonna happen. So you have it on, and you have a reactive pan, which is affected by electromagnetics. Right?
Is that effectively the Earth?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
the Earth is the Earth is the pan.
The Earth is the pan. Flip it upside down, right? The Earth is the pan, and the sun being the induction heating, right?
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's why, like at Death Valley, you have, because you're closer into the pan, you're deeper into the pan, right? It's the hottest place on Earth, 280 feet below sea level, or 250 feet below sea level, something like that. It's one of the lowest. It's the lowest point.
And 30,000 feet up, it's freezing cold.
Good God, yeah. I mean,
it's like negative 80 up there.
Within a day, I could drive from Badwater, Death Valley, and come right up out of the Mojave Desert in just a couple of hours, coming from where you just could only stand to wear a pair of shorts, and drive for a couple of hours up to about 8,000 feet elevation, and you want to put on a jacket. Now, wait a second. That's closer.
Yeah, there's no correlation.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like, wait a minute. This is, and I started thinking about that. And I have a little burner that works like this. And what it does is, as I've cooked on it before, and now the surface of the induction thing, because the pan been setting on it, has heat that's come from the pan itself, but it doesn't stay how long. You can put your hand right on it,
right?
In just a couple of seconds. It doesn't take long for it to cool back down, because it's not really producing heat. And this is something that made me think. Looking.
So wait, what is the induction cooktop doing to the pan?
Okay, so it says induction heating of cooking vessels rather than relying on induction. Let's see, cooking vessels with a suitable base are placed on an induction, also induction hob or induction cooktop, which generally has a heat-proof glass ceramic surface. Blah 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 blah. Let's get to it. Wire with a low radio frequency alternating electric current passing through it. The resulting oscillating magnetic field induces an electrical current in the vessel. Okay, so you're actually putting electricity into the pan. This large eddy current flowing through the resistance of a thin layer of metal on the base of the vessel results in resistive heating. So it's basically heating through resistance.
I definitely think you're onto something with this. I don't know if you remember the early days of the Flat Earth movement with Mark Sargent, where he used to say, from a game design standpoint,
right,
I would make the heating source come from the ground.
Right.
He would talk about that, how most of the heat would be coming from underneath.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think there's actually kind of a separation between the sun and light. I don't think all light comes from the sun.
No, I don't either. I think it's a fluorescing of the gases in the atmosphere. Have you ever seen what happens to nitrogen when it's exposed to a positive electromagnetic field?
Right.
It glows sky blue. That's interesting.
Well, I think of it from a biblical perspective, right? Where God said, "Let there be light," a couple days before He created the sun, and it's like, and if you think of it, it's like, well, if the Bible was a con job, why would the writers make such a big mistake? Why would they make light before the sun?
The editor would have caught that early.
But no, it's not a mistake. Yeah, but it's just not. It's there in that order because that's how it happened.
So it's saying here, it says for nearly all models of induction cooktops, a cooking vessel must be made of or contain a ferrous metal such as cast iron or some stainless steels. Now, for real, if you go and buy pans, there's little symbols engraved into the bottom of them. And one of them, there's a symbol for induction cooking.
Put Joey Poyle on the screen. His comment. He said, except when you dig down, the soil gets colder. Well, that soil, that part of the pan, right? That's not in contact with the induction cooktop, the sun.
Right.
Right. So isn't that in alignment with what you're saying?
I believe so, man. I mean, this is definitely, I think, part of it. If not the deal, I think it's at least a great deal part of it. But see, this is and like I said, you got to have different, you have to have the ferrous material, of course, a magnetic ferrous material, something that a magnet will adhere to. The iron in the pot concentrates the current to produce heat in the metal. If the metal is too thin or does not provide enough resistance to current flow, heating will not be effective. Induction tops usually will not heat copper or aluminum vessels because the magnetic field cannot produce a concentrated current. But cast iron, carbon steel, and stainless steel pans usually work. Any vessel can be used if placed on a suitable metal disc, which functions as a conventional hot plate. But we have the same things going on. It's a circuitry that's what's important here. And I looked at this coil and I thought about how the sun moves, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of little bits of tech. How about pull? There's a lot of little bits of technology that have kind of opened my mind to the way the actual Earth works.
Oh, check this out. Check this out. This is
what is this cool. A picture of?
Okay, so this is hang on. Let me reduce it back down. It's a thermal image of a 4-quart saucepan heating water using induction.
Okay, that's interesting.
See this down here below? God, I wish that would quit coming up. Below the bowl, this green line down here.
Yeah.
Okay. That right there is the bottom of the fucking bowl. And this down here that's blue, just you see a little bit to it, just the wiring. That right there, that's the induction heater. That's the induction cooker. That with that blue.
So it's like an upside down dome.
Yeah.
It's like the Earth. It's like the Earth, but if we flip our phones upside down.
Right. I mean, that's fucking cool, man.
How about there's something called the planetary gear?
Or the great year? You mean
a planetary gear?
Oh.
Like on a car, a gear.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So the planetary gear works exactly the way the planets go around the sun. It's like right in our faces, man. You got to pull this thing up.
I'll get it to you. Yeah.
Because you know how the sun goes around the Earth, and the planets go around the sun. It's basically the Titanic system over a flat Earth. And then they have this thing I discovered it by accident on YouTube. It's called the planetary gear. And I went, holy shit, that's exactly how the planets go around the sun. And they named it the planetary gear.
Let's look it up. Hang on a second. They got it on here, probably.
I'm sure you could find it on YouTube.
Yeah, like a little, because then I don't have to. Yeah, I have dyslexia of the fingers.
I'm just streaming from my phones. I don't have any capabilities.
Here you go. That what you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was up on the screen. Fuck. There we go.
No, I don't think that's how I pictured it.
That's the thing from right here.
Oh, you're on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
No, I had a better visual demonstration. That's not really the way I was picturing in my head.
I can understand why they call it that, though.
But I always see technology, and then it relates to the flat Earth.
Once you start really looking at it, and you have to get that other shit out of your head first. You really do. You have to get that other shit out of your head of this one of the hardest things to get out of their head is this idea of being in space and a big fucking sun and all this other nonsense. It's really, really been pushed so hard that you literally have to pull teeth to get that fucking shit out of people's heads.
Oh, like it's like straight out of Star Wars when Yoda says, right, you have to unlearn what you have learned.
Yeah, man. Wow, for sure. That's exactly right, man. And too many people don't. They can't. This is all this nonsense. And you think about it, if you really sit back and think about it, you place that idea onto what you see in the sky. And it's the only place you've ever seen anything that's really that condition as you think it is on television or in books or drawings or or movies or something like that. And it's because there's so many movies, books, and pictures and things like that of this bullshit that when people look outside, they're like, yeah, it looks like such and such when you're up there. And they don't have any idea of knowing that. How do you know what up there really is? You don't. You got this idea from somebody else, from Hollywood. You gotta really rethink yourself. I think a good trip to the planetarium is a great way to break your paradigm. If you look at the planetarium as not trying to see planets and stars, but realizing that you're in a domed room with an
amazing
exact representation of the night sky above you, sitting on a flat floor observing it all. Meanwhile, the entire thing is being projected to you from what would be considered the North Pole.
The Polaris.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow. Or how about like the what do they call it? The totem pole. Right? Or not the totem pole, that thing that the kids they have the ribbons and they go around the pole.
The maypole.
The maypole. I mean, that is the stars going around Polaris. I
think here's the end of that stupid interferometry bullshit.
I don't think flat Earth debates that get that far in the weeds is productive.
No, not at all. But I see he's touching on maps too. Okay.
That I could get down with maps, but okay.
Well, here's the problem, right? These people do not understand the difference between a measurement and a calculation. Okay? Land miles are physical, measurable distances. You can physically measure distances, right? On land.
Right.
When you're in the ocean, your distance and speed and everything else is calculated by observation of other things that are in themselves moving as well. So you have this anchor star called Polaris that's really hot and dandy. That's great because now we have a reference point for the rest of these things moving to help pinpoint my position approximately, at least to calculate my position. So now what happens when I get past 90 degrees? What happens when I'm past the equator and I can no longer have a stationary star as a point of reference? Oh my God, it gets worse. It gets worse. Because now you've got the sky is moving, you're maybe moving at whatever speed, you're not absolutely sure. There could be currents that you're in, blah, 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 blah. So now we have to calculate these distances which is one of the problems they came out with. You have to understand this Cartesian coordinate system that we use is designed for a globe.
Yeah.
That's why they had the Royal College of Longitude. The horizontal latitudes, those are cool. It's where you get into these longitudinal aspects of it because you're estimating in the ocean and you're actually trying to physically measure on the land. So there's a mixture of shit that's going on with this. Some inaccuracies. You're mixing calculations with physical empirical measurements, and that's you got to understand nautical distances are not they're not empirical, right? You get it?
Yeah.
So you're mixing that in, you're mixing two things together, and everybody just takes it as, hey, that's really cool. Holodonkey is volunteering for the panel. Holodonkey, hit that fucking link, brother. Come on up and holla for us, donkey. Let's see what kind of what was you gonna say?
I don't think he's coming on.
No. Peter, who's pulling? Vero, are you pulling my chain, bro? You pulling my chain? Come on now. Let's see what these guys are yakking at a little bit more. I'm gonna go make me a cup of coffee.
That are measurable. They are physical things. They completely destroy the possibility that longitude bands get longer as you approach the South Pole. So this is direct, measurable, observational evidence that the planar geometry is impossible. How do you just gloss over this and say that my understanding of the Sagnac effect is such that this doesn't matter? It's just not important. We'll go on and we'll disagree with all the scientists and their interpretation of the Sagnac effect. We'll disagree with all of the observational validation of special relativity, based on our limited understanding of these papers. But here's a test. Here is a measurable physical test. Why is this?
I was about to think he might be from New Zealand. If he just said teast, then I'd have known it. How many times did we hear that? What was their name? That Arden broad from New Zealand talking about the teast. You must take the teast in order to be able to return to society. We take the teast. Bitch looked like she could eat corn on the cob through a picket fence. Fuck. I didn't know whether to watch her or pet her nose and give her a fucking apple, you know?
It's not important.
All right, because nobody cares about the geodesic arc links that are derived from the celestial sphere in the sky. So can we get back?
Measurable.
Great. Can we get back to Mickelson Morley and Darryl? I want to say much respect, bro. I love that you brought the heat on Mickelson Morley. Let me know when you're done, Tony, so me and Dude can get back to Mickelson Morley.
Okay.
Yeah, let me ask Darryl. Let's get back to it.
We can come full
Let me
circle.
ask Darryl. Don't you think that this is, sort of what I disagree with about Mickelson Morley is that it is completely unrelated to shape, right? It doesn't tell you anything about the shape of the Earth, even if we accept what these people say about it. It doesn't. It is based on an esoteric discussion about the contents of scientific papers, and with all due respect, these scientific papers are not written so that you guys can understand them.
It takes 2 fill-ups to get that one. I have to do 2 processes to get a full cup because I got a big cup. You know what they say about guys that have big cups? They drink a lot of coffee.
They are written for the benefit of other experts in the field. And the cherry picking that you do,
can you wrap this up? Are you done gaslighting us yet, or what? Or do you have some more stuff you want to get in?
All right,
yes, there is. That's why I'm still talking, mate. You can tell I want to keep talking by the fact I'm keeping talking.
All right, Tony, we'll
But
give
if you want to interrupt me and make me
Are you going
talk,
to say
I'm
something
going
of
to keep
substance,
on
or are you just
going.
going to gaslight?
All right. We're going to give Tony 15 seconds to wrap up, and we'll let you guys respond to some of the things you've heard.
Thank you.
Mainstream scientific papers
Really
are not
big
written
cup
for the
coffee.
benefit of the layperson. They are written for the benefit
Now
of
it's smalling in.
experts. And your interpretation of their contents is basically disconnected from observational reality.
Yeah, so just real quick, I can try and respond to that. you guys heard him just trying to essentially tell us that we're not allowed to have an opinion on this because we don't have a PhD like him. But I looked at the papers, I read the paper, you guys looked at the paper with your own eyes. So for the edification of the audience, hopefully you're not being gaslit, because that's all he just did was gaslit literally the entire audience there. But to talk about why relativity is important, it's because, like I showed earlier with the Venn diagram, the ether wind's at the center of everything. And if you actually show that there's an ether wind that has a higher velocity at altitude, and changes with it correlates with the motion of the sun and the moon in the sky. If you can show that substantively, then you have a really, really, really hard time making that work on a globe. Especially,
and you proved that an ether exists,
especially within the framework of special relativity. And I internalized special relativity growing up. I actually believed in the twin paradox. I actually thought that, if I went out in space and I left my twin, that if I actually was able to achieve space travel at some point in my life, that my reality would age faster than me behind me, and then I'd come home to a ruined world. So the idea of exploration is just nonsense within the Einsteinian paradigm. It's crazy how it just makes you nihilistic, isn't it? But yeah. So in any case, the ether wind's at the center of all this. And then as far as your thing about Australia, and about the distances there, I would just like to say, maybe you don't understand, but all maps, all of the globe is based on the King's Decree, the idea of, we have to follow this specific longitude and latitude system. Everything is mapped to the sky. Everything is based on angles to the sky. And so the fact that your globe model, which is based on angles to the sky, aligns with itself is not impressive. And if I were to go out and take angles to the sky and map it to a flat Earth map, I would be able to produce the same result. And I would hope that you wouldn't deny that.
Except you haven't.
In sense.
Except you haven't. Except you can't.
Oh,
you
so
can't
that means
navigate.
I flat because I didn't go and plot it myself.
You can't. Okay, you talked for a long time.
Predictions. These guys, man. These guys crack me up. Mercedes, are you still here, man? Really? You know what's fun now? You know what's funny, Mercedes? This will probably fucking really tweak your frog. You need to go sit in the corner for 5 minutes. I'm going to put you in the corner for 5 minutes. Does that piss you off? I hope it does.
And you overran your time, and I didn't interrupt you for a long time. So now we get to talk. You can't calculate distances. You can't calculate bearings. You can't do celestial navigation properly. You can't make GPS work. There's lots of things Flat Earth can't do, except apparently prattle about the Michelson-Morley experiment, which you're very good at. Off you go.
Lock smart. Unless it's done with a British accent, then it's acceptable.
It does seem like anti-flat earthers and conspiracy theorists, debunkers, they always have like British accents. They use that as a way of sounding intelligent and having like superiority over Americans.
Or maybe they're just MI6.
Might be that too, but it is commonplace for them to use people with British accents. Like, think about all the reality shows with the British judges. Like who are really harsh on Americans, like they're superior to them, right? Like the guy from American Idol and Gordon Ramsay, right? It's commonplace for them to do that, but then they do it in this world too, like the Psyman Dans, and now this freaking PhD Tony guy.
Where do they come from, man? Where do these fucking people come from? That's my biggest thing. I'm like, these guys, that's all they do. And they get crushed all the time.
But if you asked PhD Tony how many genders there are, what would he say?
I don't know. That'd be a good question. Well, I don't know. I don't know. His wife would come in and tell him that there's more than two, and you look and it's Brenda.
He doesn't have a wife. Mercedes, how many genders are there, Timothy?
Oh, he's on timeout. I gave him 5 minutes in the corner.
Oh, he said that vaccines were safe earlier.
Oh, yeah.
See, Vero asked him a direct question. Are vaccines safe and effective?
Yeah, careful. I saw it.
Okay, sorry about the V word. And then he responded, yes, V's are safe. Like he might just be a bot.
That's possible, man. I think he is. He wouldn't show himself on camera. And then when he did turn his camera on, it was just a static view of the ceiling or some shit. And I'm like, that's not what I asked. I said, I wanted you to prove that you're real by being on camera, not that you have a camera you can turn on. I want to see a human being, right? So fuck him. He's going to have to do better to come up on here. That's all. If he comes up with something that's cogent, I'll bring him up. But I don't see that happening. He's not programmed for that. Oh no, you got a circle of death.
His accent is so weird.
Tony, and I'll jump in here. And Tony, you actually make a good point. And obviously, as a scientist, you know how to get straight to the heart of the matter, calculating distances, which they can't do. One reason why I find this topic
calculating distances or measuring distances and calculating them how?
Interesting is because, like, looking at Alan's debate, I was looking at him talking about this stuff, and clearly he didn't understand what he was talking about, like I just pointed out. And yet there were people in the chat saying, "Oh, that is killing them," because they didn't understand either. So that's why I want to go ahead and point out the fact that these people don't really understand the math that they're glossing over as if they understand it, which totally undermines not only their argument about Sagnac, but their whole argument together. This same understanding, or you should say lack of understanding, by which they present themselves as if they understand this more than the experts in it. It's the same understanding that they use on everything else. So that's why I want to focus on this. So what did you want to say about it, Alan?
I think about 50% of their argument has been gaslighting. Isn't that insane?
All right, cool.
That's pretty good, man. Yeah, Moomin Rider. Always, man. No exceptions. It's like there's three types of thermodynamic systems, folks. There's open, there's closed, and there's isolated. Okay, that's it. And once you understand how these three different thermodynamic systems operate and how they work, you'll get even more of an understanding as to this bullshit of gravity pulling on fucking air. That's the dumbest shit. Like there's a downward force of air on you or some shit.
And and their model requires gravity pulling air.
Yep.
They need that. And that would mean, right, that there's a tower of air above my head going all the way to the top, being pulled down on my head right now, right?
That's what they're trying to learn. That's what they're running on you. Yep, that's their story, and they're sticking to it, baby.
Because the first thing when you ask a globetard, the first thing when you ask them, how come I can't go up in a helicopter and hover and wait for the earth to spin below me? And they say, well, that the atmosphere gets dragged with the rotating earth. And gravity is what causes that. So it's like they require gravity pulling on air.
You see what Mercedes said here? I was muted wrongfully by the old man because he's scared to debate me because I debunked time and time again. No. What I really did it for, because you've really brought nothing to the table.
There are many genders.
What I've done it for is because it pisses you off highly. Okay. That's why I'm doing it, as it pisses you off highly. Okay. So look, I'm doing it again. Oh no, Mercedes, Timmy Bob, you're putting time out again, dude. When are you gonna fucking get it, bro? Nobody here likes you. I'm not gonna ban you because I think it's fun fucking with you, man.
But why is it that all of the globe trolls and science tards, they claim to be the ones defending science?
Yeah, and they don't know any.
And yet they also defend like transgenderism.
All the weird, all the whatever the current status quo is, bro.
Why are they all liberals?
Because they're all whatever the establishment. Look, Every one of them is anti-First Amendment. Every one of them is anti-Second Amendment. Every one of them is pro-abortion. Every one of them is atheist.
But it's not just everyone. I know, and it's not just Timothy. It goes all the way up to Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye. Like, it's all of them.
Yeah.
They're all liberals. They all support every liberal agenda, transgenderism. Like, when Neil deGrasse Tyson, Mr. Science, is arguing that you can be a man one day and a woman the next day, and gender's on a spectrum, it's like, dude, you've gone full retard. Never go full retard.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole thing is this. It's just they're all like, it's almost like they've all been programmed by the same entity.
That's the only explanation.
Yeah, there's just variations on the same fucking algorithm. I'm convinced. And way. I mean, they're just whatever the current algorithm, just variations on that. Absolutely. I mean, it just blows my mind.
Even Professor Dave, Professor. So this was interesting.
But as long as we're not going to go into anything that would be construed by YouTube to be
no. Do you remember when Matt Walsh recently made a video saying how the moon landings were real?
Yeah. I did see about that. Yeah.
So Matt Walsh and Professor Dave, they're on the same team when it comes to the moon landing. But they had a debate when it came to genders, how many genders there are.
Oh my God, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, sometimes they're on this.
Well, there's two different types. Now, these guys that come out here and this is all they do, right? You would think that these trolls are only about anti-flat earth, right? But I watch a lot of First Amendment auditor videos.
Yeah, me too. I love those.
I see the same fucking people. And I watch some stuff about Second Amendment auditors. They go out and they're carrying, right? Guess what I find? Same fucking people. And then I'll see some shit about creation versus atheism, and I see the same fucking people.
What do you mean you see the same people?
In the chats.
Really?
In the chats, just like this character right here. Yeah, in fact, you can look at a lot of these big channels that are anti-flat earthers. You'll find on many of them, they're anti-sovereign movement, they're anti-Second Amendment, all of the same other shit. And some of them, like, I don't know if you've ever seen, what's his name? Team Skeptic. He started out as an anti-flat earther. Now he's an anti-sovereign movement. Okay. So how do you switch from one? How do you go from cosmology to bootlicking?
It's just the anti-truth movement is what it is. It's the only thing that has the only thing that these subjects have in common.
They're combating truth because in the empire of lies, truth is treason. And we live in an empire of lies. 100%.
Yeah.
And so what it's to the benefit of those within the establishment to keep it that way, because that's how they keep their power. That's how they keep their wealth. Well, once you take away this illusion, there's a whole bunch of other illusions that have no choice but to fall. They have no choice but to fall. That means that, oh my God, if this isn't true, that means that this isn't true. This isn't true. This isn't true. And then pretty soon you find out it's like, man, they fucking lied to me about everything. Everything I think is real is just a big goddamn propaganda psyop on my ass every minute. A big, huge Luciferian inversion of reality. We paint the United States and the military as we're the good guys and we're freedom and all this other fucking bullshit, and we're not. We're a horrible place. We go around the world and fucking destroy innocent people for their resources or for some kind of a fucking political means. Do you realize that we've only been not at war as the United States for a collected amount of like 38 days?
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's like if you took all the amounts of peace that the United States has had in its existence, you get roughly about 38 days. And that's it. We are constantly attacking motherfuckers everywhere else, taking their shit, and then controlling them so that they live how we think they should have to live. I mean, it's insane. But we view ourselves as the good guys. We see that when Grandpa hit Omaha Beach, he was saving Europe. Fuck that. Grandpa hit Omaha Beach unknowing to Grandpa. He was helping to spread communism throughout the world. That was what the entire that's what they were fighting against. And here comes three clowns who ally themselves together. Communist Joseph Stalin, Communist Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and Communist Churchill. Well, good God, are the odds ever stacked against you? Because these outfits have a goddamn open checkbook. Yeah. People got to understand, man. Look, reevaluate. Stop putting your identity on such stupid things as a fucking nationality or a race or a sex or any of that dumb shit. That's not who you are.
Right.
And just because somebody's in another place that you can't see doesn't make them any fucking less or more than you. We're all just dudes and chicks, man. We all drop trow and take a dump the same way.
Except for Mercedes. That dude.
Mercedes.
That dude, he shits pancakes.
He sits when he pees.
He definitely sits to pee, yeah.
He sits down to pee. I guarantee it. Still talking sense till at the end, Sal. What was the left turn? Don't get held up. Listen,
no, I got
what patriotic shit. He's held up in that patriotic shit. Didn't you ever wonder why they always have to sell World War II as the good war? Right? The war of just and noble causes.
Yeah, no,
right?
You're right. Our history books have been completely rewritten, whitewashed. If you know the saying, it goes, history is written by the victors.
Look at
and we're the victors. Yeah, the guy admitted that he sits to pee.
He sits. Axis Monday says he pisses on his balls. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right.
History is written by the victors.
Yep.
So if the bad guys win the war, they get to write the history books. And guess what? In those history books, the bad guys don't identify themselves as the bad guys. They identify themselves as the good guys.
Well, look at it. Go like this, right? All right. So I'm sure everybody's had people they know that are a couple, a married couple or whatever, or boyfriend and girlfriend, and they get into a big old argument, right? And you go and you listen to the guy's story, and he's like, oh, there I was just walking through the daisies and shit, minding my own business, with all of a sudden she did blah, 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 blah. And then you go listen to the woman, and she says, there I was just walking through the daisies, minding my own business when he did blah, 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 blah. Well, both things can't be true. So you have to look at it. You get his story, history, her story, and then somewhere in the middle there is the real story. And we have to understand when we go to school and all this shit that we learn and everything, that's his story. His story. It's his story. Is it your story? Fuck no. It goes along with all the rest of the deception. You don't know who you are, when you are, or where you are. And that's how they want it to be. What a way to disorient the fuck out of people, and they'll accept everything you tell them. It's diabolical, but it's brilliant. I swear to God, it really is. Somebody that watches people the way I do is who came up with this, but that had way more resources. Because I'm serious, man. I know in and out how this fucking thing was perpetrated onto people and why they believe in it so badly. I mean, I've got that shit completely figured out. And it's right down to it's conditioning. It's all just conditioning. That's where it comes from, man. So if y'all haven't noticed, the all-seeing eye bong is in for repair. I broke the stem, and now I have to go all the way into Luray tomorrow, a whole fucking 9 miles away. And I have to go and get a stem and a new bowl to fit into my all-seeing eye bong. So isn't that a pain in the ass? All due to my dogs getting excited and knocking one thing over that hit the bong. It was a freak accident. So anyway, we'll go a little bit further into this and see where it takes us. If he's right back into that fucking stagnant shit.
So we're back to the, what was it?
No, we ain't. We're going on beyond that.
It's the speed of the
Life is expensive.
Yes,
Tools
it is.
don't have to be. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
system. And this paper also tells you why it's a second order experiment. Let me scroll it down a bit farther.
I don't think we're going to get much out of this fucking debate. Let's just see what we got here. Where'd he go to?
Shit, I must have them in their own folder somewhere.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not even going to bother with that because that Tony guy kind of just pisses me off. He was a good study and shit. You can learn some good stuff on there. I put the debate, I think, in the link to this. Let me double look. Let me double look and see. Go in the YouTube studio. Go into my content. Go into my lives. This one, edit. Yeah. Okay, cool. I did. I put it in the chat if y'all want to, or in the description. So if y'all want to go and look at that, wunderbar, go ahead. I can't take Tony much longer. You know, him and that, who is he? Kind of a little bit much. So I'm just going to chill back, interact with the chat for a little bit, and just kind of go for what we know here and see what goes on for a little bit. So let's see. Sean's asking Timmy, what Globe-Tard agency do you work for? That's a good question. That really is. Does he come back from? Because it's fun to get mad and debate clowns. You don't debate, though. You just read things that you've been told to memorize and then giggle like a fucking, I don't know what it is, some kind of weird creature. Are you a weird creature of some kind? I mean, you really are kind of a odd character.
Like a hyena or something.
Yeah. See, I don't care. It's funny. They are dumb. No, we're all quite able to speak and much more articulately than you, man. So we're not dumb. You're dumb because you're meaning that word completely out of context. See, that just shows how dumb you are. And you know why you're dumb? Because I won't allow you to speak. Ah, you little bitch. Right? There you go. It piss you off when I put you in timeout, Mercedes? Does it piss you off? Should I do it again? He's afraid to say anything because he thinks I will. I might. I don't know. Depends on what tickles my balls. You know, just go school instead of watching Formula One. Get a degree from Liberty U. There you go. There's some advice for you. So you will learn something here, brother. Just not self-aware enough to realize he's projecting tragedy. Who are you talking about? See, Prophet Mo, aren't we all weird creatures? Not in that respect. I mean, you have to look at the level of hysterical laughter in comparison to what it is he's actually laughing at. And then you ask yourself, is the level of laughter that I'm seeing equal to or much greater than the amount of humor that one might find in the answer? So that'll tell you a whole lot about somebody's fucking state of mind. I'm scared shitless. You're the one that giggles when your shit gets destroyed every time they're Mercedes. Timmy, Bob, Liam. Dude, I'm just saying, your mom should have swallowed, man, for real. I'm just saying. Anyway, I think I'm going to get off here tonight. I've had enough. It's been getting close to 3.5 hours. I've had some marathon shit going here the last couple of nights. We've been going live and staying live for a long fucking time every night. And I think I'm going to kick back and just gel. I ate some infused fudge earlier, and I'm feeling really, really relaxed right now. Is Timmy Mercedes-Benz? Yes. Timmy and Mercedes are the same person, Holodonkey. This is a person with an identity crisis that can't decide whether he is Liam, Globe Lover Bob, Timmy, or Mercedes Formula One.
All right, Dave, you have a good night. I'm going to bounce out of here.
All right, Casual. See you next time, brother.
Later, brother.
So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like we always do every night. But think about what I said about that with that induction, man. Look into that. Tell me what you think. Expand on that idea, because I think that's I think I'm on to something. I really do. So I'm anxious to maybe see what Witsit thinks about it. So I don't know. We'll see. Till then, I want to tell everybody to remember the Lord loves the working man. Don't trust Whitey, and see your doctor and get rid of him, because he'll probably kill you. Y'all have yourselves a good night. We'll see you the next time on Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind.